opinions expressed on Carter's Corner are entirely independent of the opinions of Radio 89.7 FM's Wise Board, talented management and wonderful sponsors. Carter's Corner respects the right of each individual to hold and express an opinion unfettered by the shackles of political correctness and without fear of quivering in the quicksand of cancel culture. Radio is for entertainment, not censorship.
All right, you're with Travis Carter on your Carter's Corner, 89.7 FM. We have in our studio today an amazing lineup of people. Starting on my left, we've got Elaine. Welcome to the show, Elaine.
Thank you, Travis.
Kai, how you going, mate? Welcome back.
Hi, Travis. Good to be here.
Aaron, welcome to the show.
Always lovely to be here, mate.
Fantastic. And obviously myself, Travis Carter, thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. Now, we've got a few special guests coming through today. So hopefully on the line, we actually have one of the current councillors for the city of Wanneroo, and she is actually running for the seat of Butler for the Liberal Party. So we're starting to get into the big guns now. We have the amazing Linda Aitken. Are you there, Linda?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes,
Thank
works.
you.
So we're still playing with all the systems here. So sometimes it doesn't quite play games, and this is awesome. So it actually works. So fantastic. Thank you very, very much for coming on to the show with us today. Now,
not a problem.
When we were talking earlier today, we were trying to explain to you exactly what we're trying to achieve with Carter's Corner here. The whole premise of this show is to give everyone the chance to come on air and tell their stories without being censored, without being told you're not allowed to say that. We're trying to get rid of the whole cancel culture, what's going on. One of the things I have noticed over the last couple of years is the West Australian and a lot of the news medias in WA are giving the Liberal parties a really, really raw deal. So, again, thank you for coming on to the show. The floor's yours. It's good to go. We were talking about some of the things you were hoping to achieve as a Liberal candidate. Why don't we run through that list? The first thing you want to talk about, obviously, is ambulances, the shortage of them, and also what's going on in the hospital sector about beds being not used correctly or not enough beds. So fire away. Tell us what was going on with all that sort of stuff.
Well, obviously, there's the week before last, one day had 37 hours of ambulance ramping, and it's going on quite a lot. So obviously we don't have enough paramedics, we don't have a large enough accident emergency, particularly at Joondalup Hospital. But the issue isn't just with a large enough accident emergency. We also need to be able to transfer our patients into beds, and we need to have enough beds on the back end. So there's a desperate need for Joondalup Hospital to be enlarged to have more beds to minimise the ambulance ramping. There's also issues with enough staff. We need enough qualified staff brought through. We've had a lot of nurses come through the graduate programs through ECU, Curtin, and all around Western Australia. But to get a graduate program in a hospital is nigh on impossible nowadays. Very, very difficult. Without those graduate programs, it's very hard for the girls to further get developed into or girls and boys, of course, developed into specialities. You know, some do accident emergency, some do aged care, some do theatre. So we need more people coming across so that we are able to fill up the back end and empty our accident emergencies. I think what really, really concerned me was the week before last, there was an elderly gentleman that fell over next to his bed, and this was at the Sun City Golf Club estate. He was between his bed and his bedside table, and his elderly wife couldn't get him up. Now, she called the ambulance, and after 60 minutes, no one had come. So she rang again and then waited another 30 minutes before someone came up. A total of 90 minutes before an ambulance got there. He had broken his hip and he had a severe gash to his head, and he had to be transferred to hospital. Now, can you imagine if that was your mum or dad or brother or sister?
That's a
would
life-threatening
be awful
situation.
Story. Awful.
That's
we want to look after people as quickly as possible.
I can
we don't want this delay.
Sorry about that, Lisa. Yeah, I can actually throw something in on that. When my mum passed away, she had a massive heart attack, and it took 45 minutes for the ambulance to come for a heart attack, and we lost her.
Sorry, mate, I can barely hear what you said there, but Yeah, I'm sure you agreed.
I do. No, I was just saying that when my mum passed away, she had a massive
Yes.
heart attack, and it took 45 minutes to get an ambulance.
Wow, that's just
Yeah,
graceful.
and that's the last thing you need as someone who is caring for someone you love, to know that this delay is a life or death decision.
Yeah.
In that situation, we need to do better than that.
One thing I'd love to add to this, I can personally attest to how terrible the ambulance system and the hospital system is in WA. Now, this isn't a go at the nurses or the doctors or anything like that. I think it's just poorly managed. 2015, I had the joys of parking a motorbike under a car doing 110 k's an hour. How I survived, I have no idea. I've been in and out of hospitals constantly for the last 5 years. The amount of times I've been stuck in an ambulance waiting to be seen, for any treatment whatsoever, because with all my injuries were all internal, so they didn't think anything of it. It was terrible. It was shocking. One of the things that I'm getting, a lot of people are sending it through messages already. So if you do want to ask Linda any questions, we do have the request line on 0418 897 897. These are major issues. And when I was talking to the staff at Fiona Stanley Hospital, the Armidale Hospital and Royal Perth Hospital, the staff were there. They were saying that a lot of the problems that they're finding is getting information from one department to the next, or getting information from doctor to doctor, has been absolutely terrible. And I found the Bentley Hospital and Armidale Hospital were doing really, really good jobs with that, but the rest were terrible. And that's just my personal experience. Now, a little thing that a lot of people don't know, Linda personally is quite experienced in this situation, because Linda, my understanding is you're also a nurse.
Yes, I'm a theatre nurse.
Yeah.
So I deal in the operating suite, and whilst we don't have as many emergencies as Joondalup at Hollywood, we do have emergencies that I need to scrub for and deal with, yes.
Yeah. So Linda is not because she's a Liberal candidate or she's a councillor, but because she's personally experienced this sort of stuff. So she's very, very well versed in some of the problems that are coming from this side of things. Now, you were also talking about ambulance ramping. I know as a everyday sort of person, not many people actually know what this is. So do you mind giving us a bit of a rundown on that one?
Well, ambulance ramping is where there's not enough room in accident emergency. So they leave the patients in the ambulance until sometimes, or in the corridor with a paramedic looking after them until such time as they can find space and the ability to care for them. Of course, they're triaged in priority, but my mum, I think it was last year, she's 85, she suffered with cellulitis and was rushed to hospital in ambulance. She was stuck there for quite a while before she got admitted to Royal Perth Hospital. Yep. So they actually triage the patients in priority. But of course, when they're sitting waiting there, it's a long time. It's a waste of resources, and our ambulance officers aren't out there bringing more patients in or to deal with more patients. It's like a bit of a bottleneck.
And there's another thing that you need to take into account as well. A lot of these people who are actually waiting in the hospital, they've got serious things wrong with them. So it could be something like a very embarrassing condition. With mine, I had bits of my hands hanging off and stuff like that. So it wasn't the most prettiest thing in the world. And you're just there for everyone to see. And it's a very, very daunting and, to be frank, a little bit embarrassing being stuck in a bed, not really knowing what's going on. And the amount of stress that the patients are under is monstrous. It's really, really
and this
bad.
Absolutely. And this is the thing. You can see how hard the staff are working. You know, there's absolutely no blame that lies with the doctors, the nurses, or any of the staff there. The ambos are amazing. I tell you what, I'd love to, buy a present for every ambo in Perth, quite frankly. But unbelievably, if the infrastructure's not there, they hit the wall, don't they? I mean, then that's where the ramping occurs. So it's really the infrastructure that needs more funding and better planning.
All right, let's throw another question to you, Linda, on this one, the same topic. As a Liberal candidate, have the Liberal Party got a plan or some sort of strategy in place to reduce ramping times, increase the number of beds available for patients, especially with the growth that WA in particular has had? Have we got a plan to resolve this, or is it just something that we're sitting there complaining about because we know it needs to be fixed, but we haven't actually got a solution?
Yeah, well, I can't speak on behalf of the Liberal Party or their policies at the moment because, as you know, we've had a few changes. Yes. But the Liberal Party or the Liberal government in the past has been supportive of the co-public-private hospital system, and I'm sure that they would work very closely to maintain that and to develop the facilities and that's what they would work towards.
We have...
and I would be in agreement with supporting that personally, and I would work towards that personally.
Yep. We have actually had a message come through. Someone said, what about Uber ambulances? And I'm thinking, yeah, it might work. Doesn't Wilson's already do something similar to that? Wilson Security. I've seen a heap of Wilson's ambulance running around.
Okay, no, I know nothing on this one, trust me.
No, I haven't seen that either.
No, I think we already have Uber ambulances. We ring 000, ask for an ambulance, and they come. I mean, and I think we already have it. If we were to look for an Uber driver, we'd have to have a qualified person with them, and often people can't just sit in a car to come into hospital. I think we already have it with our ambulance service. It's just that we don't have enough, or we don't have the back end to be able to get them back on the road quick enough.
Okay. No, I understand that completely. With that front, with the, how would I probably describe this? Do you think there should be greater penalties for people who actually waste the time of the paramedics? People who call 000 for ridiculous reasons and actually waste that really incredibly important resource?
Look, I would have to judge each case on its merits, and if they were a repeat offender, we would have to deal with something like that. But I think of the boy who cried wolf, and then finally when it was real, no one came. So we would have to be very careful doing that. I hate it, though, when emergency people's time are wasted. But we have to treat everything as serious, I think, unless we prove it otherwise.
No, I understand that. I've just personally spoken to a few people in the game, and that is not even a minor issue. It's quite common, actually.
Now, Linda,
I think people misunderstand 000. Instead of making it life-threatening, they think that's for everything, and I suppose that would be a better education and communication system than what it would be, and I would be very careful before I looked at prosecuting.
Okay, we do have a question from Elaine, who's also in the studio with us here.
Linda,
Elaine?
could I just please ask you, the couple of times I've ever been into emergency, I find it extremely frustrating when someone will go into the triage and they'll go, oh, yeah, look, I saw the GP last week and they said if it wasn't better to come back, it might be a sore toe, a sore finger. To me, that's really wasting the emergency department's time and effort, especially if they're understaffed. But what can we do about that?
Yeah.
Is there anything?
Well, I think Joondalup already have a after-hours doctor service that they can send them to.
Yeah, I have been aware of that, yeah.
Yeah, and so if they use that service appropriately, they can probably move them onto the GP service to deal with it. But I do understand what you're saying, and those people, as they're triaged, are generally made to wait for the more acute cases to be seen first.
Yeah,
I have
But I must say, though, my mother was admitted to Royal Perth Hospital last year, and she had a small perforation in her toe. That's all it was. And she ended up with a life-threatening situation, an infection, which was cellulitis. So what might be minor for some people is actually not minor. It's quite a serious incident. So as the girls triage in accident emergency, maybe they can make the suggestion that they go to the GP clinic on site, and that would minimise stuff happening.
Yeah, definitely.
But we can't put one judgment on everything. We need to look at each situation in its context.
Okay, so keeping with the medical subject, one of the other things we were talking about was actually about a hospice being constructed. So,
Yes.
So
I have a vision for a hospice in the seat of Butler. I'd like a vision for a hospice in Western Australia. We used to do it quite well at Cottage Hospice in Shenton Park, and we had a lovely palliative care unit at Hollywood. I haven't worked at other palliative care units, but what it looks at is people living their life to the maximum, to the end. It's for people who have decided that they don't want any more aggressive treatment, but they want a quality of life right to the end. And it provides, they remain permanent patients of that unit, but it's set up like a home, not a hospital. And then as the disease process progresses, they go back in there. They're not ever discharged. They go back there. Their condition is stabilised and they can go back home and they can choose to pass away there. But it's a familiar environment with familiar people, familiar surroundings that know the whole family, and there's a holistic care factor for the whole family.
And it gives them that...
we don't seem to have that. And we don't seem to do that very well. We work really hard and we have a wonderful palliative care department, but the UK have a very good hospice system over there, and it would be nice to replicate something like that over here for the community.
So I am sorry to cut you off on this one, but we do have to have a message from our sponsors. So right now, so we're going to go to have a bit of a message and we'll have a song, and we'll be right back because there's so many things that I'd love to discuss with you. So if you're happy to stick around, Linda, we'll be right back after these messages, okay?
No problem. Thank you.
Fantastic. You're in Carter's Corner on 89.7. All right, Carter's Corner is back on 89.7. You're with Travis Carter, Aaron Malloy, Kai and Elaine. And on the phone, we have Linda from the Liberal Party. She's also a councillor for the city of Wanneroo. So we were just talking about the hospice then, Linda.
Yep.
You still there? Yep, fantastic. So...
Yep.
I know other political parties have been pushing for this for quite a long time. One in particular is Robin Scott for mining and pastoral. How come Labor and the other major parties, the Greens, the Nationals, why aren't they supporting something like this? Like, it's something that's really, really good for society. Why can't we support this?
Look, I can't speak for the other parties. I can only speak for what I'm pushing for and what I believe is best for the community. And having worked in the industry and having worked in palliative care and hospice care, only for a brief time, but having done it, I recognise the desperate need for that in our community in Western Australia.
To be honest with you, it sounds like the Labor Party is they're caught up in COVID. They seem to put everything behind COVID, and they're just pushing this all the way to the next election. Just talking about the next election, I do have to shout out to Zach Kirkup. Am I saying that right?
Kirkup.
Yeah,
Zach Kirkup. Yep.
Congratulations to Zach for getting the top job in the Liberal Party. One thing I have noticed in the past is Liberals kind of been a little bit MIA. So I'm really excited to see what Zach will bring to the party and see any changes. And let's see some fight back against the Labors who are absolutely dominating media at the moment. And hopefully we can start getting some more Liberal people coming on the radio. And hopefully maybe even organise a debate.
Well, that's the thing. Right now, Labor has got complete control, of the narrative. They've got, 80% of the media. It would be very nice to see the conservative side of politics have a say and not be pushed out by, Seven Media, West Australia, and examples. What's your thoughts on that, Linda?
Well, I agree. We need to push back, but I just want to say I'm grateful for what Lisa's done, and I'm looking forward to supporting that completely. But at the same time, if we're in agreement with what the public chief health officer is saying, we're not going to work against what's best for WA. We're going to offer bipartisan support. We're going to support what's best for WA because we as a party want what is best for Western Australia. So, I'm looking forward to the next 109 days.
Okay. All right, we do have, let's see, we've got a couple of messages come through. I'm just having a quick look here. Just in regards to the ambulance services, Wilson's have just started 24 hours, 7 days a week ambulance services. He's saying that ramping in Joondalup is a real major issue. Liberals is in favour of Joondalup privatised. I think he's assuming that Joondalup Hospital will get privatised. Is that something that's on the books for the Liberal Party?
Joondalup Hospital is already run under a privatised system with Ramsay Health. They have 80% public patients and 20% private. So it's a public-private partnership.
Yep. So
I wouldn't say it's privatised as such, but they work on behalf of the public system.
Yep. Yeah. So he's saying the person that messaged through is saying that apparently Labor wants to bring it back into control, 100% control of the state government. To be honest with you, I'm not really sure how that would affect ramping times. But I have to admit, every time I've dealt with any government bodies like Centrelink, Medicare and all that sort of stuff, wait times have been terrible. So to be honest with you, on the servicing side of things, I think this is just my personal opinion here. And like on this show, everyone's opinion is their own opinion. I personally, I'm not a big fan of private bringing things like hospitals back into the state government control, because they haven't really done a very good job in the past of managing things. So
well,
do you
just have to look at you just have to look at the ramping at the Charles Gardner Hospital, the Royal Perth Hospital, and at all the other hospitals. This ramping, ambulance ramping, is an endemic thing. It's not just about a privately run public hospital. It's the public hospitals as well. It's a problem and an issue that needs to be sorted throughout the industry and throughout the Perth metropolitan area. So to just blame it on being run as a public-private partnership is false. And you've got to remember too, Joondalup have over 300 admissions to their accident emergency department every day,
300.
which is more than any other accident emergency department in Western Australia.
So Lisa,
and I think it's about the second or third busiest accident and emergency department in Australia.
Oh, wow.
They are doing an amazing job, an absolutely amazing job with what they're doing in their accident emergency, but we need to give them more equipment and more ability to be able to do it to the standard they want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Now, just quickly, to the person who's been sending messages on the text line, the last one I got was, I have a question to ask Linda as a councillor for the city of Wanneroo, but I haven't got your next text message through. So make sure you get it through to us so we can ask Linda while she's still on air with us. So I think we've done with the hospital side of things. There's definitely problems there. We definitely need to make amendments and we need to fix it. And I'm thinking we need to really, really call in the Labor government to come to the table, start negotiating and come up with solutions to this. We need all parties to work together on this. And I don't know if we can actually get Labor Party to do that. They seem to...
We have to. We have to do bipartisan support. When you look at legislation, 80% of legislation, at least, and 80% of what we do at council is agreed with by everybody. But the media takes 20% to publicise, and people think it's a whole lot.
Yes.
And we do actually work together quite a lot to have successful outcomes. So therefore, the Liberals are prepared to work for the best outcome for Western Australia.
Okay, so one of the other things that we were talking about before you came onto the show is about the Yanchep rail system. So the Labor government has actually promised by 2021, and if my maths is correct, that's about 5 weeks away, they would promise that it would be either built and finished or at least started, and my understanding they haven't even drawn up plans for it yet. But the Labor in the last state election actually promised to make sure we get it done, get it paid for and everything like that. But the Liberal federal government has set aside money for this. Have you noticed during your campaign? The Liberal
federal government has actually funded the whole lot, and they transferred the funds to the West Australian Treasury for all of the infrastructure for the rail to Yanchep. And that was done quite a while ago.
So it's fully funded, but it's not happening. That makes complete sense to me.
Wow.
Yeah, but I've also heard of another one. So to go on this one as well, I think it was back in the 2013. I could be wrong in this one. Back in 2013, there was a push they had to get one of the smaller parties across to form government. One of the governments said, all right, we'll build the South Perth train station. The plans are done, building permits are done, everything's ready to go. They just haven't got the finances on it, and it keeps getting pushed back further and further and further. And all they've got to do is say, "Yep, here's the money, go for it."
Right.
So it just shows again.
I don't know much about that.
One of the listeners is very, very keen on the North Perth train station. Because the plans and everything are finished. They just need, I think it was like $38 million to complete it and finish it and get everything
I'll
added.
just check my wallet. I'll be back. Hang on.
Oh, no worries, Aaron. Awesome. So how, and this is where one of the problems lie. As a candidate for the Liberal Party, what can you do to put pressure on the Labor Party to actually come to the party and actually do this? Because again, it seems like the outer areas, so the Butler, Joondalup, the regional areas, are being left behind by what should have traditionally been a very strong-held Labor seats, and they're just being ignored.
Yeah, well, the rail, they will get the rail by 2023. 2024, it'll definitely be through. But they've just taken their time to do it with how they've done their contracts and tenders and all of that sort of thing. But there is a photograph of Mayor and Mark McGowan and John Quigley at the 2017 election, promising the rail to Yanchep by 2021, and that's not going to be the outcome.
All right.
Quigley seems to take his paycheck very, very seriously, because he takes his money, but he doesn't actually do a damn thing. That's my opinion about Quigley, quite frankly.
That's pretty
I find
true.
him one of the absolutely most appalling politicians in this country.
Linda, can I please ask you a question? So what are one of the first things that you're going to do if you get elected? What's on your priority list?
Well, there's a few things on my priority list. I want to see the power lines in the Yanchep National Park put underground from Pippindinny Road to just north of Old Yanchep Road. The fires that we had in Yanchep in December last year were directly caused from sparks from trees on those power lines, and that was threatened life, houses, and cost an absolute fortune. And then we had another fire in February caused by exactly the same power lines. Now, this was reported on by DFS, and it was publicly reported at the same time. I think COVID went through. Something else was big in the news. But I would suggest that undergrounding those power lines would be a cost-effective thing to do to stop us having fires, because if you walk down those power lines just on the east of Wanneroo Road up there, you'll see they've still got huge trees overhanging them, and all it takes is for them to drop a limb and you've got dry leaves underneath, and it'll start another fire. And it's just a huge risk.
So, Linda...
Another thing I'd really like to get done is I would like to fight for kids' sport funding, for more funding for kids' sport, so that all kids can do sport. At the moment, it's been cut back, and it doesn't matter which sport they do. It's mean tested according to families, and what happens is when the families apply to do a sport, whether it be a season of soccer, a season of swimming, a season of rugby or tennis or whatever, the sports club register them and they get paid through kids' sport, and those children are able to do sport. That will really help people in lower socioeconomic areas. I want to push for the hospice, really want to push for the hospice. I also want to push to try and get a small local hospital up that way. That might not be able to happen quickly, but I want to work towards it. And, of course, with the city of Yanchep coming up, we need to be mindful of that as we prepare the structure planning and putting infrastructure up there for the future. And these are all things that I will personally fight for the local community, as well as keeping down costs and charges. I will fight to do that as much as I can.
All right,
the other thing that really...
I've just got to go to a few more messages. So what we'll do, we'll go to some messages. We'll do another song. And then when we come back, we'll be back again with you, okay?
Cool.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
So Carter's Corner on 89.7. All right, Sultans of Swing on Carter's Corner, 89.7 FM. You're with Travis, Kai, Elaine. Aaron's out of the room for a bit, and we've got Linda on the phone as well from the Liberal Party, also the city of Wanneroo. You still with us, Linda?
I'm still here.
Woohoo! I know technology, which is awesome. So during the break, I have a sneaky suspicion we might have a couple of Labor supporters because we are getting bombarded with messages. So, are you ready, Linda? And I apologise in advance. Okay,
I was born ready, mate.
All right, let's start from the top. What is she going to do for the voters? Can we have, where are we? How about simply maintaining the trees in the area? The power lines aren't the problem, and sinking them is too expensive. Swear word, huge cost, swear word. Ask her the cost, swear word. Trim the trees, trim the swear word trees. No way. Don't waste money on swear word. Sports. Like, this guy is really, really negative. Sports clubs should be funded their own self.
DFS have said in their report that it was the power lines that caused the fire in December. Their report has said that. And the second fire in February was caused by the same power lines. And the trees are still hanging over the power lines. So even though they've replaced the power poles and all of that up there, we need to put them underground if we're not going to threaten lives, if we're not going to threaten property with further fires. And what worries me more than anything, we only lost one house in the fire in December.
That's still one house
What
too many.
concerns me more, and the service station as well, is if we lose life. That to me is far worse.
All right, so
And the cost of what we did in December with all of our fire guys and the utilities and the water bombers and trying to save the houses, it's not cost efficient. Sorry, that's not an argument, you know.
No, that's understandable. So, as I said, we've got the line open. Wow, and we've got... Okay, this is about 40 lines long. I'm just going to have a quick read. Just while I read this next message that comes through, you guys got any questions? We did have one come through about recycling in the local council, which is a bit of a council question. Hang on, just let me quickly find it. All right, here it goes. Why are we being charged for recycling on our rates when we don't have a recycling bin?
No, Travis, we have recycling bins.
I don't live in the area, so
sorry,
I'm not
Linda.
sure.
Can I just ask you, because I have a property up in Shorehaven, so I'm being charged currently recycling fees and a cost of recycling bin, but we don't recycle. It all goes to Tamala Park. So I want to know why my rates are paying for something that I'm not getting.
Just quickly before I answer that, for the people who don't live in the Wanneroo area, what's Tamala Park?
Tamala Park is the refuge disposal site along Marmion Ave. Yeah, the tip.
Okay, awesome. So the tip. So all the recycling and normal waste are going to the same spot.
Yeah, it's been being dumped there.
not.
Yeah,
It's
it
not.
is. Linda, sorry, it's been dumped there for years. I know it has because I had inside information from somebody, and we had a caller 2 weeks ago who could confirm that, whose sister works at City of Wanneroo Council. So it's clearly there's no recycling service.
Well, we do employ a company to take out recycling. Okay, so I don't. That's just not true. And if you have a look at our budget, and that's publicly online, and our policies online, you'll find that is happening. We are one of the largest councils, and I can't speak on behalf of council. I'm speaking on my personal opinion. We are one of the largest councils in Western Australia, in fact, in Australia. And part of our issues with recycling is finding a company able to take the quantity of recycling we're having. And we have an ongoing plan for future with dealing with green waste as well as that. But it is a long-term thing. But we do recycle, and we have got that happening. And so if you check out our facts on our webpage and ring up the City of Wanneroo, they will confirm that for you.
Okay. Can I ask a favour then? Are you able to double check with the company that's currently doing your recycling to make sure that it is being actually recycled rather than just included into the general waste?
I can do that, but I don't see what happens day to day. That's part of the city of Wanneroo administration to follow through, and I can't speak. The only person who can speak on behalf of the City of Wanneroo themselves is the mayor, or the CEO. So that would have to be followed through that action. But from the information I have received, we do recycle.
Okay, fantastic. So it looks like there's a bit of an issue here that I think it'd be really cool to clear up. So we would love to have the mayor from Wanneroo to come in to tell us whether it has been resolved or not, or a CEO, was it? The other person that's involved with it?
The CEO.
Yep.
If you would ring up the city, they will give you the results from that, or I can follow that through.
Oh, that'd be awesome if you can, because we'd love to have you back again. Mr. Dwayne, producer. So there's another guy in the office. He's not actually on the microphone, so he's our producer for the show. Can you jot together an email and send an invite to the Mayor of Wanneroo and the CEO to invite him onto the show? Because I think it'd be awesome to hear their side of things on that one. And we've still got the contact number for the lady who made the allegations. So I'm wondering if it's worth seeing if she wants to come into the show and have a chat as well, because that might make for a good show. Awesome.
It'd be good to clarify it.
Well, it looks like the person who sent the original question through is enjoying it, because they're going, yes, Ripper, debate it out. So how would you like to come in for that debate as well, Linda?
I can come in, but I'll find out. I'll get the written information because
Awesome.
it's easier to talk, but not. I want to get the written facts because I know the facts because we spend hours talking about rubbish at the City of Wanneroo.
Oh, it's one of the main jobs of the council. So it's, what is it, the three R's? Rubbish, recreation, and roads. I think it is that they say for the local council. So awesome. Now I got distracted. I stopped reading. So the person that was the other massive long message that came in through. Given the state's announcements back in May as a COVID response, that key proposal for the draft and development of local planning schemes, regulation was to bring forward significant recommendations, including doing away with planning approvals for things like patios, pergolas, cubby houses, etc., etc., etc. Why is the City of Wanneroo still dragging the heels in implementing these recommendations? So again, I don't live in the area, so this is all new to me. Has the City of Wanneroo implemented these changes
I don't know why they're dragging it, bringing it to council. If he wants to email me, my email's on the website, and I'll follow that through with the council directly, but I can't speak about that.
Okay, not a problem. I think this person would actually, they haven't put a name on it, so I'm not sure who it's from. So I think that person would be absolutely stoked. So these articles, we do podcast them. So what I'll also do, I'll put the link to the City of Wanneroo website. So people are going to go jump on there, have a bit of a look around and see what's going on in the City of Wanneroo. So like events, functions and dinners and whatnot also happens up. Okay, so moving on, we did have one other question that I am curious about, and this is a me question. So I've always wondered, I've really gotten into politics in the last couple of years. One of the things that made me a little bit upset about the Liberal Party over the last couple of years is they were becoming more and more of a minor party. They were disappearing a lot. I don't know what the cause of this. I think a lot of it was COVID and the amount of media coverage that Mark McGowan, as I've come to know him as Mao Gowan, busy just becoming more and more like a dictator. That's my own personal opinion, not yours. I understand that. Do you think with the new change of leadership that there's going to be a lot more aggressive approach to the Liberal Party? And again, this is your opinion, not the party's opinion. Or do you think the Liberal Party will fade away and become a minor party like they've been heading in over the last couple of years?
I don't believe the Liberal Party will be a minor party. I believe their core values are such that they are for the benefit of our nation. I believe that we will work really well to serve our community and just watch this space. That's all I can say.
Oh, I think I've...
Get excited.
I truly, truly hope... I cannot stand Labor government at all. I cannot believe some of the... I feel the Labor government has used COVID as an excuse to pass a heap of laws that should never have been passed. And under the old regime, I feel the Liberal Party just rolled over and had their tummy scratched by the Labor Party to get everything through. And they didn't actually stand for anything. So I'm really, really hoping that there's going to be a massive change. And one last question before we do let you go, because we do need to get into another lot of songs and our next lot of guests are coming in after 7. There's in the State Emergency Act and the Health Act, there's a couple of lines in there that I find quite alarming. The first one is that about the chief health officer can force any medical procedures onto people. Does the current Liberal government have any plans that you're aware of getting that removed, including for the forced medical treatments such as vaccinations?
I didn't realise that there was the forced medical treatment. I would have to read it and examine it. And as I said, we're still working on our policies at the moment. I wasn't aware of that directly.
Okay. Dwayne, can you pull up the legislation act for me? It's the WA Health Act 2015. And the other one that's in there is about compensation caused by a state of emergency. The reason I'm really concerned about this, I've got friends and family who've lost jobs, money, investments, properties. I've known people who have tried to commit suicide because of this state of emergency. I think that it was totally done incorrectly, and there could have been done so much better. For a bit of background on this one, my wife is Vietnamese. They share a border with China. Their population is 96 million people in a place the size of half of New South Wales. They had 270 cases and 0 deaths. And apparently the population density is one of the greatest things for the spread of COVID. So I'm not a big fan of Mark McGowan, and it's probably one of the reasons why he refuses to come on the show. In the State Emergency Act, is Section 78 of the State Emergency Act, it actually states that anyone who suffers loss or damages because of the state emergency is entitled to fair and reasonable compensation. Is this something that the Liberal Party, obviously you can't talk for the Liberal Party as a whole, but have you heard any talkings within the Liberal Party of actually actioning these compensation claims, or will you do what Roger Cook did when I lodged a claim and decline processing it?
Look, if it's I haven't spoken about it with anyone in the party, but if it's legislation and it's tested by law, it has to be tested by law and then a precedent set. But I'm not a lawyer. I don't have a lot to do with that sort of thing, and it hasn't been discussed with me.
Okay.
Awesome. I think everyone's suffered in COVID, to tell you the truth, and there's been different things happen. I am glad that we're looking forward to a fantastic 2021, hopefully with a vaccine. Hopefully we're going from strength to strength. That's what I'm believing for. We've made our way through this. We haven't sunk like other nations have suffered. We look at the US, we look at Brazil, we look at Europe. We're such a blessed nation and we're a blessed state. And so we just need to stand on our strengths and take a foot forward. And I think we will. As far as this fair and reasonable compensation, that would have to be looked at. And obviously, if there's legislation about it, then it would have to be tested.
Okay, so I'm just going through the legislation now. What I'll do, I'll send it through to you on an email because it's the State Health Act is absolutely monstrous. It's a huge document. There's so much stuff in there. To have anyone knowing it inside out is a massive task. So I can understand that one. So I'll make sure I'll get it through to you on the email. But
Thank
Linda,
you.
I have to say, we did throw a few curly questions at you at the end there. You've been an amazing sport and we'd love to have you back on in the future. And please tell all your other people at the Liberal Party that we would love to have them on because we know they're getting a little bit shafted in the media side of things, especially with Rupert Murdoch favouring the Labor Party at the moment. So we're going to go to a set of ads and some music. And again, Linda, thank you very much for coming on to the show today.
And thank you very much. I'd love to be back. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Linda, and good luck with the election. Carter's Corner with Travis Carter. I am your host. In the studio with us, we've got Aaron Malloy across the desk. We've got Kai and we've got Elaine. And now it's time for our next guest. If you're a farmer, you probably know this gentleman. He is the Deputy Leader of the National Party WA. His name is the young and amazing Shane Love. Welcome to the studio, Shane.
Good morning. Good evening, Travis, should I say, rather. Thanks for that introduction.
No, not a problem at all. We've been having a few problems with our telephone systems today. Normally we can talk to people through the desk, but it's been amazing because it does work. And we haven't lost a single person yet, which is really, really good. The joys of community radio.
Thank you.
We've got you on the show today. There's been massive announcements today. The Liberal Party now has a 33-year-old leader. He is actually the youngest in history as a national who traditionally has had a bit of an alliance with the Liberal Party. Did you guys get a say at all in who the new Liberal leader is?
Absolutely no say whatsoever. Completely separate party, and they do their own thing, and we do our own thing. And if there's an election, and after the election, it looks like together we could form government, then we'd sit down and have a discussion. But until that stage, there's no interaction between the parties in the sense of trying to determine who should be leader of either.
All right, fantastic. So what is at the moment with the National Party, especially with the election, I think they were saying it's 109 days away. What are some of the big key issues that the Nationals are looking at attacking in the next election?
Well, really it's about making sure that regional WA gets to share in some of the recovery and prosperity from investment in infrastructure and services, etc., following the COVID situation and trying to get the economies back up on their feet. So we're looking for investment in regional areas to ensure that regional people have strong economies, that they've got all the services that they need, and to take advantage of some of the changes in lifestyle we've seen, where a lot of the towns in my electorate, and I'm sure in others, they've really had a big boom in real estate. There's been a lot of people buying in, people coming out looking at lifestyle and country towns as an alternative to being in the city as a result of the lockdowns, etc. So towns where there was a book of houses that hadn't been sold for years, a backlog, they've all moved. Fresh land's been released, and we're seeing a considerable amount of growth in a lot of communities.
So, a lot of people don't know this. I actually grew up in Geraldton, and what you were saying about the real estate is kind of true. A lot of the houses are getting sold now. But you did
That's
mention
right. Well,
something...
Geraldton's gone up a lot in the last few months, and so is Dongara, which is where I've got my office. So that's been in the doldrums for years, but it's now picked up, and they're looking for more land.
Now, you did say an interesting thing there. You were talking about the COVID. Now, I don't know if you've heard or not. Good old Barnaby, not Barnaby Joyce, that's the Qantas.
Alan Joyce.
Alan
Joyce.
Joyce, yep.
He's decided to make a few interesting comments about everyone has to be vaccinated when he gets on the aeroplane. Question for you, as a country person, how do you feel about being told this isn't government policy or anything like this, but if you want to fly with me, you have to be vaccinated whether you like it or not? How does that sit with the Nationals?
Well, we haven't sort of discussed compulsory vaccination before flying. I guess it's a choice that people make if they want to fly or not, but that's a big step to have compulsory vaccination for people is something that I personally would find hard to justify.
I consider it a massive overreach, quite frankly. As simple as that. It's a national, transport, it's a national airline. Simple as that. On top of that, you've got, a lot of shareholders who are everyday mums and dads Australians rather. I don't think that he's as a person who's, brings his own personal agenda to work every day. I don't think he can possibly do that. I think that's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, well, I find it a bit troubling that you would try to compulsorily vaccinate everybody that chooses to fly in an airplane. I think there are other ways of ensuring that people are safe, and including masks and other things. So, yeah, I find that a bit premature for a business person to be laying down that precondition.
But is Alan Joyce really a business person, or is he somebody who just wants to push a social narrative? Because it really seems like that red carpet thing that I saw, just today on YouTube. I'm disgusted by that. Absolutely disgusted. The fact is that it seems to me that we've got someone here who's a multi-millionaire in a position of great power, who's using his position to push his agenda, his politics on everyday Australians. I'm disgusted.
Yep. Okay. Well, as I say, I find it a bit of an overreach to say that everybody should be vaccinated before they go on an airplane. I think those types of matters are things that, like everything else, we would be looking at health advice from the chief health officers throughout the country and trying to get some guidance on what's the most appropriate settings from that, rather than what a business person said.
But it's not just the issue of health and safety. It's actually the fact that he's trying to force his personal beliefs on those who travel on there. He has no right to do that, as far as I'm concerned. That is a completely disgraceful way about taking your own politics to your business and controlling the people that use your service. And as I say, this is our national airline. Absolutely disgusting. If you've seen that video, whatever your personal beliefs are, I'm a massive believer in equality. I don't believe that he should be pushing his agendas like that. And quite frankly, I think that the government should step in and really have a bit of a hard word about maybe having this guy removed. Simple.
Okay.
It's a little bit difficult because I haven't actually seen the video, so I can't really comment on the video as such. But as I say, matters of what's the appropriate health setting is something for the government, not for Qantas, I would have thought.
Okay. Now, let's change tack a little bit on this one. So we do have a private entity, and let's be honest here. Alan Joyce has a huge amount of sway within the government. The amount of donations he has reportedly been given to, my understanding, both Labor and Liberals. If he does push to have mandatory vaccinations implemented across Australia through lobbying through the government, forcing mandatory vaccination, especially for the COVID-19 vaccination, is that something that the Nationals are going to support, or is that something that they're going to dig the heels in and say, no, that's not right?
Well, that's probably something more for the federal Nationals. As I say, we haven't discussed that issue as such, but I would just reiterate that right throughout all this COVID situation, we've stuck with the advice of health professionals, not the advice of business or any other particular group. But we tried to back up whatever the health professional said was the appropriate thing to do, and not stray down rabbit holes of trying to have a bit of overreach, if you like, on a whole range of issues.
Definitely.
So I would just point out, for instance, that in terms of the emergency powers that the state has, just quite recently there was a bill in the House to extend those emergency powers that the government has in regard to compelling people to provide information in Western Australia for 6 months from April on to October, and to do that now on the basis that there was an election coming up. Well, we pushed back on that and said, no, that's too long. You need to actually give the new government, whoever that might be, it might be Zach Kirkup and Mia Davies, it might be Mark McGowan, we don't know, but they need to sit down and look at the situation and determine what sort of length those extraordinary powers should run for. It should not become the norm that those extraordinary powers are in place. It should be the exception, not the norm. Those powers should only be used as they're required.
Well, I can tell you now that you've definitely got someone listening, and we're getting huge thumbs up, text messages, yes, coming through the text line here. I don't know if you've listened to the show in the past, but we're very pro freedom of choice here. We're very pro it's your body, your decision. So one thing that has also come through on the text line here, so if you do want to ask a question of Shane Love, the MLA and the Deputy Leader of the National Party, the text line is 0418 897 897. We've had a question here in regards to farmers and their well-being, because we've been talking a little bit about COVID, especially because the Nationals are a very, very country-based party. Have you seen much of a pushback and cause for help for farmers and people in regional areas that are really, really struggling, not just financially because of COVID, but also because mental health awareness and raises in all sorts of other social issues such as alcohol abuse and drug abuse in the regional areas?
So we have a belief that mental health is very, very important. Many of us represent seats where in certain demographics, and quite a staggering range of demographics, suicide is the leading cause of death.
Especially males between
for
14...
us, mental health is more than just a new consideration. It's been an issue for a long time. And we haven't yet put out our policy going forward for the next election, but I can assure you that it is something that's under very serious consideration, and we have been talking with health professionals, mental health professionals, and the various lobby groups that are interested in this area about what is an appropriate policy that might make a difference for regional areas.
I just heard the word, two words, lobby groups. That always frightens the hell out of me, because quite frankly, I think these people have far too much power.
As I said that, I thought you might have that reaction. But when I say lobby groups, I mean people who are concerned in the area and have a level of understanding built up over having worked in the area, or often have had family members who have been affected or have had their own situations where they haven't had them dealt with. So I'm not talking so much about political groups as people who have a particular interest in the area.
Fair enough. I understand. Okay.
Just a bit of information in regards to one of the other things you were saying, how mental health is such an important thing. Number one cause of death in males between the age of 14 and 55 is actually suicide.
There you go.
So I was reading that in a report about 3 months ago, and I was taken back. I was thinking, car accidents, drinking too much, or heart attacks, things like that. But by far and away, suicide in men is the number one cause between that age bracket.
Yeah, I think.
And for a long time, in country areas, I think too the single vehicle accidents have masked a fair bit of suicide as well.
Yeah, I think the easiest way of finding out the true suicide numbers is basically you go down to Terrace Road in Perth, that's where you'll find the main cause of suicide in Western Australia by men.
Oh, that's nasty. Funny, but nasty.
Just fact. Just good old-fashioned fact.
We'll leave that one alone for now because we don't want to get into too much trouble with Section 121 of the Family Law Court Act.
No, we don't want to do that.
So one of the other things is I'm getting a couple of messages from the ladies and gentlemen all the way up at Port Hedland and Newman. They were talking about the suicide side of things, and the common denominator is saying through the frustrations that they're getting from the ladies and gentlemen working their absolute tail feathers off up there in insane heat. They're frustrated that they're paying insane amounts of tax while everyone else is having a free ride. They're saying that they want to see a universal tax rate across the board. Personally, I'm not a big fan of that because different people in different situations, but I have to admit, the guys that earn, because they're working far away, they're doing an absolute terrible job. There's got to be something that to help these guys out because they're effectively carrying this country right now.
That's right.
Yeah. So we as again, that's sort of federal and not a state thing, and I hate to say that it sounds like I'm a cop out, but it's it's an area of, that we don't have a direct influence over. But a lot of country areas and a lot of I think rural people, regional people, especially in those more remote areas, used to get more assistance from the tax system than they do now in terms of zone rebates and the like. And that's been something that's been raised with us quite consistently over the years, that there needs to be more recognition of the contribution that people make in the regional areas. And it's one of the reasons that we're so keen to ensure that, while people are up there, that if they choose to actually want to live up there and have a family life as well in the north, that there are the facilities and there are the type of communities there that can provide a decent standard of living for people.
Okay, fantastic. So we do have to go to a quick message from our sponsors. So we're going to go have a bit of a message, and then we're going to go into a song, and then we'll come back with some more questions for you, okay?
Good day.
Fantastic. This is Carter's Corner with Travis Carter and Co. Bit of tainted love in the studio. The boss is shaking his head at me. He's like, oh my God, that guy's a tool. All right, so Carter's Corner, Travis Carter, Aaron Malloy, Kai, and Elaine. I don't know why. I nearly said Angela, and I have no idea why.
So close, honestly. Wow.
Not really.
Yeah,
Elaine's so
right.
much better. Now, obviously, on the phone with us, the Deputy Leader of the National Party, and hopefully, possibly the Premier of Australia. No, we've got Shane Love from the Nationals. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, good day, Travis, again.
Fantastic. So, during the songs, we had a couple of messages come through, and it's in regards to the shark attack that's been on the news today. I think it was a 17-year-old kid has been taken, or he's been missing. I don't know if they found a body yet, off the coast of WA. And the question reads, why is it okay for sharks to eat people but not okay for people to eat sharks? Now, I'm assuming this person is talking in regards to the shark baiting the nets and catching of sharks off the coast of WA. With the Nationals, obviously conservation is an important thing, but it's more around the farming, the fishing industries and things like that. What's the current stance for the National Party in regards to drum lines, deep sea fishing, like I forget what they call it. My brother does it. They drop like a kilometre worth of fishing lines off of the ocean as they draw along. They pull all the fish in.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Deep lining.
Long line, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the current stance, especially with the Nationals, in regards to that sort of fishing, shark fishing and stuff along those lines? Has your stance changed much in the recent years, or is it still a bit of a no-no?
Well, in terms of most of the shark attacks that we have, and I don't want to talk about today, I really don't know anything about other than the lad went missing. So many of the shark attacks are apparently caused by great whites, and there's some protection for them under the federal legislation, which makes it difficult for the states to control them. I'm not a big fan of going out and killing everything in the sea just because you want to go swimming in it. But I think if there is a problem where we have a situation where there's an area where it appears that there may be a continuing problem, then it's probably appropriate to take some action in that area and target the action so that it's where we know that there's been a repeat situation But I don't know enough about shark mitigation to really talk too much in depth about it. It's not something which has been, shall we say, very much. Well, what I'm trying to say here is that we haven't actually got a firm policy of going out and taking the sharks unless you know that that one is or that area is a particular issue.
Okay.
So the cop launch killing of the animals probably not something on our horizon because they are protected by federal law. So
okay, that's a fair enough
makes
answer.
it difficult.
Because it has come up, especially because there has been over the last 3-4 months, there has been quite a few shark attacks. Continuing with the fishing side.
Well, I do find it interesting though that we in Western Australia, when they first started using drum lines, that there was such a hullabaloo about it happening in Western Australia when it was already happening in Queensland and New South Wales.
Double standards is WA versus the rest of the country.
I found that to be quite, quite a double standard. Why is it okay to be done in Queensland and New South Wales and not in Western Australia? So I do think there's in some cases there seems to be one law for Western Australia and one law for others.
Okay, I've just had a few. Our producer in here loves to grab facts and figures and send them through to us in the studio. Apparently, out of the last 36 fatal shark attacks, 28 of them were actually from great white sharks. Apparently, they're now known as, is it height sharks or hitty? Oh, white sharks.
White sharks.
Why don't they take the great white off? Because they're massive. They are a great shark, and they're one of the paramount hunters in the ocean. So
let them have their ego.
They used to be called white pointers when I was a kid. So I don't know. That's the same shark anyway. So
I just don't understand why we have to change the name of an animal just because the name offends someone. So continuing with the ocean and the fishing side of things, this is actually a bit of a personal one for me as well. In the 2017 state election, Mark McGowan promised that there'd be no construction done within the Cockburn Sound. Now he's massively pushing the construction of the Outer Harbour, which will pretty much decimate Cockburn Sound. Nationals. The Greens have totally failed because there was an EPA report showing all the damages. So the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, all the environmental impacts that this was going to have. The Greens, who campaigned relentlessly to stop Row 8, and then they've been absolutely silent on what's going on in Cockburn Sound. What about the Nationals? Because we haven't really heard much. The Nationals haven't really come into this debate, considering how much of an impact it will have, especially to the fishing industries. Why isn't what's the Nationals? And a lot of this might not be because you guys haven't been speaking about it. A lot of it could be because the media just doesn't want to talk about it because it's sort of like Mark McGowan's little pet project at the moment.
So there's a few interesting things. First of all, the port proposal wasn't put through the infrastructure system that the state wanted to set up through Infrastructure WA. So that's had its own separate proposal.
So Mark McGowan's taking shortcuts again.
Well, that's absolutely something that is their policy. It's not a matter for independent review against a whole range of other options. It's their policy to build that port. That's their policy. They're not viewing other options. So, from our point of view, we felt that the continued use of Fremantle, as we understood it, that Fremantle would have capacity for quite a number of years. Decades going ahead. The Kwinana area, of course, does have some ports. CBH, we've got a big facility down there, and there are other bulk facilities. So it's not like there's no ships go down there. But in terms of actually the environmental impacts of that opposed to Row 8, I think it's pretty clear that there'll probably be more environmental impacts from building the port.
Oh yeah,
that
17 of them
to be
precise.
spoken about.
Yeah.
From the Nationals' point of view too, is that we'd like to see more consideration of how some of the regional ports may actually be developed to take some of the load directly, so that you get a bit of efficiency of.
I love
being
the
able
fact
to bring in, into Bunbury, into Geraldton, into the north. Port
I
Hedland
love
and Pratt, and the like, because why not use some of those port facilities as well? Why does it all have to be concentrated in Kwinana when a lot of the stuff gets brought into Kwinana, stuck on a truck and taken back up to the north?
See that I love you. I'm doing a pun on your name or anything. I grew up in Geraldton, We've already got the wharf there, and a lot of people don't know this. There's an actual a natural wharf from memory. It's about 28 or 29 metres deep, just north of Geraldton, called Okajee. All the planning, the structures, and everything, all that was done, and it got squashed about 10 years ago. Geraldton they get huge amounts of ships coming in already for the wheat, because they're the main port in the wheat belt. And I would have gone a little bit further than Bunbury. My other thought was down at Esperance. Esperance has also another amazing port down there, and you can either go Esperance or Albany. Why don't we start decentralising everything, get stuff out of Perth? Because like you said, a lot of this stuff, it gets shipped into Perth, and then we truck it out. So why do we have to send...
Exactly right. So there is a small amount of containers coming into Geraldton at the moment, for instance, but I think there's more capacity for those types of things to be developed, especially in the north, where you might be bringing in a fair deal of equipment where that could be looked at. And I raised Bunbury, but you could use other options as well. But you don't all have to be concentrated in the one point. So our view is that there's a whole raft of issues that haven't really been examined because the decision's been made to look purely at Kwinana. And as you say, decentralisation is one of those issues that hasn't been looked at properly, and to see how that could contribute to the shortfall, if there is one, in the capacity of Fremantle at some point in the future.
Yep. And
but also get some efficiency in, at the moment we're building massive roads so that we can run triple road trains to Headland, etc. Well, that's great. I'm not opposed to that. But if we can take some of the stuff straight in there and save money a truck up and down, then it's also probably even better.
Yeah, and also if you come in from Geraldton...
I think there's options there.
Yeah, and if you bring those ships into Geraldton first, you don't knock a good 6-7 hours off the time to get one of these trucks from Perth to Geraldton on Brand Highway or the Great Coastal Highway. If you guys have driven up that road and you're stuck behind one of those trucks doing 60 k's an hour, it is so frustrating, and I'd love to know how many car accidents have been caused by the frustration of having a single lane major highway from Perth to Geraldton. So cutting that section of the road out, I think it would save not only lives on the road, it will create jobs in the regional suburbs, and also will decentralise Perth as well. So getting a few comments against it. So I think we might have actually a few Labor people listening in on the show. So again, to the Labor Party, if you want your say, you're more than welcome on the show. So please come in.
I'm going to throw this very quickly out because I know we've got to go to a sponsor break. But, okay, I think it's got a lot to do with votes, quite frankly. It's such a strong Labor base down there in the Kwinana area.
Well, Mark McGowan's home state.
Exactly. So for that reason, I think that's probably a big part of the reason why they want to develop that as support. Having said that, I've actually been supportive of that in the past myself. I'd like to look at the EPA stuff, which I haven't seen. But I think, to be frank, it's got more to do with votes than it does the practical side.
Oh, definitely. And the more jobs he can generate in his own seat, it means more secure he is. So
right.
Definitely. All right, so let's throw to a few messages. Shane, if you're happy to, I'd love to keep asking you more questions. Are you cool to keep sticking around for a bit longer?
Yeah, stay for a bit longer. Yeah.
Fantastic. So we've got Shane Love from the Nationals WA. I was about to say National Australia Bank then. It was like, oh, wow, that's terrible. So you're on Carter's Corner with Travis Carter, Aaron Malloy, and Elaine and Kai. Carter's Corner, Travis Carter, Kai and Elaine. Aaron's just stood out of the studio for a minute. His phone was buzzing its head off. So we do have Shane Love, the deputy leader from the Nationals WA, with us on the phone. Thank you very, very much for coming in today, Shane. It's been awesome having you on the show. So how have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's been interesting, Travis.
I have to admit, I'm still very new at this. We're getting better by the week, hopefully. So we have got another question come through, and again, I'm going to give you a bit of a heads up on this one. It's a bit of a doozy. So what's happened is I'm going to read it to you, and then you let us know what you think. It's kind of a statement and a question out at the same time. So we've seen in the last New South Wales state election, the Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party, along with other small parties, gaining ground and even taking some seats away from the Nationals there. This is seen as a result of the Nationals no longer actually standing up for farmers and rural communities in New South Wales. What can you point to show that WA Nationals are doing a better job for farmers than their New South Wales counterparts, or are we going to see similar parties gaining momentum in WA as well? Wow, that's a doozy.
Yep. No, fair enough. Good question. And there's a couple of elements to it. So a lot of the traditional national seats in New South Wales are, the demographics change over time, and what were predominantly farming communities change in composition and different people come in. So you're always going to see some natural change in voting patterns as lifestyles change and farmers might become less of a population in a particular area and other people come in. And then when there's been particularly, I think, harrowing experiences like they've had, the decade of drought and then the big fires, etc., it's pretty natural, I think, for people to feel a bit angry.
Yep.
And the reaction might be against the city member at some stage. Whether that's sustained or not, time will tell, because I think the Nationals in New South Wales, just as they are here, are dedicated to looking after the regional people and only the regional people. And over time, that anger might subside in some of the decisions that have been made in more recent times in New South Wales. I think in Western Australia we've never been in the coalition agreement that, we haven't for a decade or more now, been in the coalition agreement such as New South Wales are in, which ties them to be very closely aligned to the Liberal Party and takes away some of the ability to be more forthright and independent on farming issues. So we were talking before about the Fremantle Port. Now, in the last term of government of the Barnett government, there was a proposal to privatise the Fremantle Port, and the Nationals came out very strongly against the Liberals on that one, and stopped it from proceeding, basically, because of our opposition. So we didn't want to see that, given the importance of that for the farming community, we didn't want to see that go ahead in that form.
Fantastic.
So
definitely...
that's one example of the difference between the two. So what we've kept in the alliance arrangement we had under Brendan Grills and Terry Redmond as leaders was that we had an alliance, and if we had a fundamental policy difference, our people would step out of cabinet, not take part in the decision, and oppose it.
Okay, fantastic.
And we did that on a number of occasions.
Good, because I must admit, at the moment, there doesn't seem to be a lot of fight coming from the Liberal Party. I'm really, really, really hoping that changes, because we do need a second, third and fourth option leading into this next state election. And I have to say, I've had an absolute blast with you on the show today. We're still getting messages coming through. So what I'll do, Bisley's do get put up on the podcast. I will put links into your Facebook account as well, so if people do have further questions for you, they'll be able to jump on board as well. And before we do let you go, is there anything closing that you would like to put out there in regards to the Nationals, what they're doing and so forth? So the floor's yours. Go for it.
Okay. So thanks, Travis, and thanks for the opportunity tonight. So basically the Nationals are a party which is just based only in the regions. We don't field candidates in Perth. So our interests are simply the regional people. We don't just represent farmers. We represent the majority of people we represent are not farmers. They're townspeople, they're miners, they might be retirees on the outskirts of Perth, they're fishermen, they're a whole range of people, small business people, etc. So it's a diverse group, far more diverse, I think, than people realise. In our party room, we have people which represent areas where timber harvesting is still a big industry. Fishing is a big concern in a lot of my electorate, as well as farming. In other areas, it might be mining or pastoralism. So there is it's a big degree of diversity, and even in the bottom end of my electorate, most of the people actually live and work in Perth.
Okay.
They sleep in my electorate. They go out and they've got their 5-acre lots in Lower Chittering, but their kids go to school in Perth and they work in Perth. So I've got to be, we've got a big diversity to look after, but our focus is just on those people that live in the regional areas, and that's our point of difference. People get disappointed about some of the policies we have. Well, whatever the decision is, it's always made for what we believe is in the best interest for those regional people.
Not a problem at all. So again, Shane, you've been absolutely phenomenal. I would love to have you back on the show. We do need to go to another lot of messages. So if you do have questions for Shane that you do want to get answered, our text line is still open. So 0418 897 897. Send the questions through and we can forward them through to Shane, get him to contact us, or we can get him in for another show. So this is Carter's Corner with Travis Carter. We're going to go to a few ads and we'll be right back after the break with Conspiracy Corner. Ooh, dum-dum-dum. Carter's Corner with Aaron Malloy, Travis Carter, Kai and Elaine. We are up to our next favourite song. Segment song. What am I doing? I must be tired. This is terrible, terrible, terrible. So we did have a theme song, but it's kind of disappeared. I'll have to dig it up.
You and technology, my friend. Jeez. Press the any key. I've told you.
I have glasses too. I'm full geek mode, and I still managed to screw it up. So now, and I also failed to press a button for green mic, which is Elaine. So welcome back, Elaine.
Thanks a lot, Travis. You need to go to Specsavers.
He certainly does.
My glass. I actually really do need new glasses. Anyway, so Conspiracy Corner. I think we need another ditto before we get into this because today's conspiracy theory, Conspiracy Corner, has a bit of a theme with it. So, without further ado...
Ooh.
I still call like a metal.
Now, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes, I still call
it's either Kevin Bloody Wilson or Rodney Roode.
One of the two. I'm not really sure. I just made it, man. I have no idea who sang it.
And for those who don't know, it's a Qantas theme song, and today's Conspiracy Corner is dedicated to Alan Joyce.
I can't believe you just did that. Oh, no wonder my hair's fallen out. That's all I can say.
Wait till you find out the song was actually Rolf Harris. But
Was it really Rolf Harris? Oh, there's so many highly not appropriate things I can say to that. That's bad.
Oh, yeah, no, let's not
Okay.
go there.
Back away. That's something he... No,
Yeah,
don't.
nah.
Okay, no.
No, not backing away. Not backing forward, not backing away.
That's really bad. All right, so for the people who don't know, and if you're a subscriber to Perth Now, shame on you. So let's get Kai to give everyone a rundown what's actually going on. And for everyone else, we can actually open our eyes and understand what's going on. So Kai, take it away. What has... Oh, I nearly said it again. Canal Joyce done this time?
well, I can give one example. He likes to have it both ways, obviously. In another sense. So I'll go back to his interview with Tracy Grimshaw last night, and he's on the one hand saying how wonderful the ventilation systems on all of the Qantas aircraft are. They ventilate from the top to the ground.
So they really suck?
My word.
I'm leaving the room. Okay. Elaine, you coming with me? I've had enough of these.
No,
two,
this
really.
is fun. I like it.
Okay.
They changed the volume of the aircraft at an order of magnitude more than an ICU ward. If there is, he was saying, being seated shoulder to shoulder with the person next to you, it is the equivalent of being 3 metres apart in any other circumstance on the plane.
Where's
Therefore,
the
of course,
bullshit
you need the vaccination to get on that place that's better than outdoors.
Hang on, just so we're clear, you have a ventilation system that's better than intensive care in the hospitals that have been treating COVID, but you still need a vaccination to get onto an aeroplane for a flu.
That's right.
Yeah. But is he saying the ventilation system is so effective that if you've got it, you're going to spread it to everybody? Is that what he's saying?
Well, it depends where the air gets pumped. Now, as a bit of a bonus for the listeners of the show, I actually know someone who is very famous in Qantas circles.
Okay.
And he is absolutely loathed by Alan Joyce.
I reckon
and,
I know who this is, funny enough. But
And
okay.
my understanding is he is the only person ever to receive a lifetime ban from flying on any Qantas flight.
Wow.
Lucky
Tony,
guy.
are you with us?
Yes.
So, how'd you like your introduction?
Oh, yeah, it could go anywhere, couldn't it?
Exactly. So, for those who don't know, Tony is the notorious pie man. So he is the one and only person that put my understanding, it was a lemon meringue pie in Alan Joyce's face during a press conference.
Sweet.
Sour, a little bit, yeah.
Oh, that's terrible, Aaron. That's
I
terrible.
congratulate you, Tony. That was well done.
So I have to admit, you are the hero of probably everyone in this studio today. We just think Alan is a bit of a muppet. We'll leave that one alone.
Yep.
So what made you decide to put a pie in his face?
It started some time earlier, where I was getting increasingly grumpy at the behaviour of corporate executives in Australia. My view is that we don't want our corporate executives telling us what we should or shouldn't do in terms of social policy. And at that stage, the conversation was around gay marriage, and you had people like Richard Goyder at Wesfarmers and the boss of ANZ and Holden and of course our king of Qantas, all telling us what we should think and what should happen. My view is that companies, we require them to run good businesses, to employ people, to provide good services, but we elect governments to decide on things like social policy. So it could have been, a number of people who copped a pie, but Joyce was the one who happened to be in town. It had been in the mine for, about 3 weeks, and I went to a barbecue the previous Saturday and just listened to the conversation, and I suddenly realised, hang on, I wasn't the only one who was feeling a bit, jacked off with the way the things were going.
Okay. Now I'm going to throw this in because before you lose the plot completely.
10 points, Tony.
Yeah, nice work.
Jacked off.
Look, I'm absolutely massively. My belief is for marriage equality and equality between people. I don't care. Marry who you want to marry. Love who you want to love. Right? Okay. But that's between you. It is not about corporate business telling us our social policy and what we should think and where we travel and all that kind of carry on. They have no right into our thoughts or our bedrooms, as far as I'm concerned. And that's my problem with Joyce. I think that he has his own agenda. He's obviously a very proud gay man, and good on him for that. But that's his private business, and he shouldn't be using his power, okay, and exploiting that power to push that idea onto people. Some people want it, some people don't. But the fact of the matter is, it's their right to have their thought, their decision, and not for him to make up their minds.
Now, we do have another... This is funny you should say that, because it gets even juicier. I don't know if I should have used that word. But now, Elaine and Kai, who wants to talk about the red carpet performance?
Oh, my God.
Oh, who wants to talk about those performers? Come on, Kai.
I could fill you in if you like on that one.
Yeah, go for it.
There was an event, I believe it was the celebration of the reopening of one of the borders, and so the first flight in got a special welcoming with an LGBT theme. They walked down the red carpet and were greeted by several strapping young men wearing nothing but very short red shorts and a drag queen in full regalia. They had to walk the gauntlet in front of the cameras and embrace it as they came in their flight. Hey. And you could see actually in the background of the video a few people noping out and exiting off frame at the start. So it wasn't everyone's cup of tea. But it was right there for everyone to
I love that term, noping out. It's like, nope, I'm out. So, yeah. Personally, I've got two very, very small children, and if the borders are open, I'd fly over to New South Wales to go see my dad and their grandfather.
Yep.
There's no way in hell I would be going anywhere near. I've been a massive supporter of the young Liberals that did the protests out the library when they were protesting the drag queens reading books to the kids. That's an issue for the parents to discuss with the children.
That's right.
It is not something for your local community library. I know this might be a little bit controversy. We've got a lot of sponsors who are involved with the library system. And I understand that. So obviously that's not their opinion. This is purely my opinion. Yep. Again, like Aaron said, if you want to swing that way, you swing that way.
Knock yourself out. Simple.
Well, don't, because that hurts.
Okay, that's a good point.
You do you, and let me raise my kids in peace. How I feel that the kids should be raised.
But this is the thing. We've got this great push for socialism at the moment, right? This great push for government to tell us how to raise our children, okay? Mm-hmm. I mean, they're stealing children at an alarming rate. That we've got, the worst social policies right now for actually removing children from families than we've ever had in history, making the stolen generation look like a blip in the radar in comparison. It's that disgusting. We have all of this control right now of how we're raising our kids, how we live our lives. Cut it out. Back off. Let us make the decisions on how we raise our kids, how we live our lives. If you know what, I do. I've got friends who, I've got gay friends obviously, and I've got friends who are very flamboyant and so forth. I've been to drag shows, okay? I've been to those shows, all that kind of thing, and
Didn't you do drag yourself?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've frocked up, absolutely. I'm not drag. I'm a very ugly woman. Let's be honest. But I'm a terrible looking man. You can imagine what happens when I frock up. But my point being is that is something that we should make that decision ourselves, and we should not be having government or business step in and tell us. No way.
Now, let's bring it back to our special guest, Mr. Pieman Tony. I have to ask, with Alan's amount of power and authority he actually has within the government and stuff like that, besides getting banned for life, what other consequences happened to you because of that lemon meringue in the face? Did they try to press charges or anything against you?
Oh, yeah, there were 4 charges. Assault, property damage, a bit of lemon got on the microphone, illegally on premises because I wasn't an invited guest, and there was a misunderstanding over my name and address. So I went before the court. Joyce was rabbiting on for days about he wasn't hearing enough remorse, and I thought, is this bloke going to get a Sydney sharpshooting lawyer and come after the house or something like that? So I thought I was out of my depth. I better get someone. So Tom Percy, QC, came on board and did mates rates because we're in the same boarding house years before. Anyway, that was $5,500, and then the judge totaled it up to about $4,000 for a bit over $4,000 of charge costs. So there was $9,500. I thought a pie cost $29.95, but anyway. But here's the thing. Over the next 6 weeks or so, my number's not listed because I didn't have a landline, but somehow or other people got hold of the number or got hold of an email address and were making contact. Mate, what's your bank account? And totally unsolicited, over the next 6 weeks or so, just over $9,500 came into the account. There was one family put as much as $2,500 in.
So is your only regret you didn't go Black Forest?
Well, hang on, it could have been a Bomb Alaska.
Guys. This is bad for me, trying to clean this up.
I think I have to get out of the room now.
Okay.
This is getting real dirty.
Wow, Aaron's actually crying. So the question is, did you get to taste the pie before you put it in his face, or did you taste it after?
No, I didn't taste it. I didn't need to. But the cheesecake shop were worried that he hadn't, had the opportunity to taste it. So they actually offered him a cake in his office some weeks later, and he's such an ungracious creature that he turfed them out.
How rude is that? Look, you know what? You can do whatever you like in your life, but the moment you knock back cheesecake, get out of town.
He was just concerned about the company's profiteroles.
Yeah. But I think the thing that I find a bit uneasy, about last night, the gay marriage debate's been and gone. That was a couple of years ago.
Done.
So what on earth have we got the gay mob as a guard for people going on to Qantas? I think that is deeply offensive.
It is
offensive. I think it demonstrates that here's a bloke who has lost the plot in terms of what's appropriate. Someone running a national airline needs to have their wits about them a little bit more than that. And in the same day, he was proposing that the airlines take control of who does and doesn't get on a plane as to whether they've had a vaccination.
Now,
that's an issue for government.
Of course it is.
And I think this guy has absolutely ruled himself out as being someone who's appropriate to manage that sort of thing, because he simply doesn't know what's appropriate.
He has no idea whatsoever. And the fact is, if let's turn the tables gender-wise, right? Okay, the fact of the matter is that is so inappropriate to objectify those men like that. Absolutely not on. That, to have them there in their underwear with children around and that sort of thing. Look, drag queens are, entertainment, all that kind of thing. That they do a great job of the show that they do in a licensed premises where children, aren't, okay? Because it's a sexualized industry. That's what it is. That the whole thing is based in sex, all right? Okay? You shouldn't have that at an airport where children and people who don't want to see it can see it. Absolutely disgusting. The man has lost his mind. He's popped a chip, and as far as I'm concerned, government, somebody should be having a bit of a word. And
a bit of word? Maybe the federal police.
You know what? He needs kicking out of that job. Full stop.
Yeah, resign.
Before we get too much into this,
funny enough.
This show's about stopping cancel culture, and we're talking about
exactly.
cancelling Alan Joyce. So, no. So what I'd like to do, we do have the request line, 0418 897 897. I've heard of a poll on the West, Perth Now.
That's right.
Insane support for Alan Joyce in this. But then, just wait. I saw another poll on Channel 9, total opposite.
Yeah.
88% against it. So,
Like I've said before, 76% of statistics are made up on the spot.
I think what we need to do is actually do our own poll. So send it through on the text line, 0418 897 897. Yes or no, do you support Alan Joyce in demanding vaccinations before you're allowed to fly internationally?
Okay, can I put my vote in right now?
Yeah, go for it.
No.
One for Aaron. Kai?
I'll say no, and I'll use the Dominion voting system to support that.
Okay.
That's about 1,000.
Elaine?
I have a message come through which I'd love to read.
Okay.
It says they can go shove it. This is an atrocity. Who will line up and get their microchips? COVID vaccinations.
Oh, nice. Hey, I'm just wondering, can I still vote after I die? Apparently that's kind of
No.
popular.
Apparently
no,
you can vote 10 or
another
12.
4 shots, yeah.
Now, Tony, you're the special guest at the moment. Yes or no? Will you be flying? Well, you can't fly, can you? So I'm guessing it's a no.
No.
Sorry, I was going to say, would you fly Qantas?
I gather that I'm unique in that plenty of people have been banned on Qantas, but it's usually if they've, got boozed out of their mind and been offensive to other passengers on the plane. I mean, my issue wasn't anything to do with Qantas passengers. It was a statement to Joyce, the individual, as an executive. So, but anyway, and he copped a heap of flack when he put that lifetime ban on, and it wasn't just on Qantas; it was on all of their code share airlines. So it makes it and there was a Sydney lawyer contacted me. He wanted to take it to the federal court because his attitude was, look, if it was the boss of the Wagga Hospital or something or other who copped a pie and banned me from the Wagga Hospital is a public facility and they can't do that sort of thing. And this Sydney lawyer's argument was that Qantas is effectively, because air travel is so important to this country and there are places where they actually have the monopoly, in some regional centres. So his argument was that it was completely out of order for a national service provider to, that's got a social licence agreement from our society to hold that position for them to ban an individual, for access to what was essentially, he saw it as an essential service.
Okay, now, why are you not suing him for freedom of movement?
So I do have to cut in there because we do need to go to a message from our sponsors,
We do.
which is not Qantas.
Thank goodness for that.
So we will go to a message and a couple of songs, and we'll be back with Tony. This is hilarious. I'm loving this. So a couple of things are also coming through on the text line, so we will be hitting them up as well. Tony, are you cool to stick around for a bit longer?
Yep, that's right.
Fantastic. So we've got a bit of a message from our sponsors. We'll be right back with Carter's Corner. Carter's Corner! Travis Carter, Aaron Malloy, Elaine, Kai, and the one and only Mr. Pie Man, Tony.
Tony, what do you think of the selection of music right now?
I actually don't think you can hear it when he's on hold.
Is he there? Are you there, mate?
No, he's not. He's run away.
Well, I don't blame him. I understand that, yeah. Look, have we paid the bill? I don't know.
He's had enough.
Don't know.
Yep.
I probably should have been watching the phones.
You really should have.
Hey, Tony, if you're still listening, can you give us a call back so we can put you back on the radio? There's so much more I want to ask you, especially about, do you miss flying with Qantas? Like, do you actually care? I think
do.
that's a more appropriate question.
Yeah, but I like those little bottles of red wine. I'm not going to lie. That's the only reason you go Qantas, right?
Oh, but red wine tastes like crap.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's
Message through on
delicious.
0418 897 897. White wine or red wine?
We're just going to hold a poll for everything. I'm just... Yeah.
Well, you know, we're a media people.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
apparently we're media now,
Yeah,
according
apparently.
to the city of Perth.
Right.
So isn't that what the media get paid to do? Like make fake polls?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So-
And drink wine and basically talk a lot of...
Yeah, rubbish.
I can't find your cough button.
You've lost everything, haven't you? I tell you what, I
That's what
spend
happens
all
when
this
you're not in
time-
here for a week.
I
Like
know.
everything gets moved, and it's like, okay.
All right,
whatever.
now we've covered old Alan Joyce quite in great detail, but I think there's more, right? Kai, what have you got to contribute there, my friend?
Oh, no, not that much more, but just that there's a little bit of encouraging news. While Australia seems to support our dear leaders like Dan Andrews and McGowan, and indeed the polls saying that they want a vaccine, that's not being taken so well around the rest of the world. And a major UK travel company, Tradewinds Travel, tweeted out, "We have made a company decision today not to sell any Qantas flights, even on a code share, following their announcement of no vaccination, no flight. There are far superior airlines with flights to Australia." So we have that to
Wow.
go.
But
Yes.
it's the common analogy that I'm hearing on the good old YouTube, Facebook, and all that. Get woke, go broke.
That's right. And we need to push back against these people. It's time, with our wallets, we said, we're not putting up with this bullshit. We are not putting up with your control.
Now, the one thing
Absolutely.
I have to, considering this is Conspiracy Corner with Elaine and Kai, the question is, okay, conspiracy theories. Let's get our conspiracy hats on and making our tinfoil and all
That's
that sort
right.
of stuff. So, in the Australian Constitution, there's things about treason and the conditions in which someone can lose their citizenship.
Yep.
So, I keep saying Barnaby Joyce, but Alan Joyce, I wonder if they're related actually. Like, are they like brothers or something?
No.
Because they both seem to be doing some really dodgy stuff. Anyway, so with Alan Joyce, he's Irish. Actually, I wonder if that's the problem.
Okay.
Is he Irish? That's why he keeps making really stupid decisions.
Are you just going to go after every individual group?
That's a
Love it.
joke,
Oh,
just in case.
I
because,
know,
no
okay.
political correctness.
Have
on
we
this show.
noticed my last name, just out of curiosity? But okay.
But
yeah.
I thought you were Indian.
I am. I'm an Indian Irishman. I am
Oh,
I am the
okay.
butt of my own jokes. It's fantastic.
Travis, that's a travesty.
It definitely is a travesty. Anyway, so going back to what Alan Joyce has done, to lose your citizenship status, you've got to commit treason in Australia.
Right.
Now, he is forcing medical treatments on the Australian citizens around the instructions of the Australian government and the Australian Constitution. Now, my question, is that considered, because the rules for treason is you've got to attack the people, the government, and a representative of the Queen. Any attacks against them is considered treason.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure there's a very old legislation, so I'm not sure if it, like sticks and stones count, but it's actual physical violence or physical abuse.
Right.
So forcing, for example, let's say John Howard, who's a former Australian Prime Minister, wanted to go fly to New Zealand to visit their Prime Minister, but he's not allowed to fly because he's not vaccinated.
Yep.
And he's forcing him to be vaccinated. Can that be considered an attack on a former Prime Minister of Australia and therefore treason, and therefore he can lose his citizenship and be told to go back to Ireland?
Ireland. That
To be
becomes
sure, to be
very,
sure.
very complicated, to be sure.
Yeah, well, conspiracy corner.
I
So
know.
throwing it out there.
Okay. Right.
Okay, so for the listeners, how many of you guys actually kept up with that?
I
I
did
carried the
Duff.
two. Hang on, divided by. Not sure.
Carry the treason, bring in immigration law.
But here's the reality. Okay, our governments break the law constantly anyway. I mean, look.
Clive Palmer.
Yeah, exactly. No matter what you think of Clive Palmer as a human being,
Not a tree.
He's not a tree. He's not flora or fauna. But here's the thing. Like, okay, what took place with that High Court decision was just a joke, an absolute joke. They went against the Constitution of this country, right? That just it's not supposed to happen. As I say, I don't agree with Palmer or whatever, but it's not for me to agree. It is about the Constitution of this country, and our High Court broke that.
Yes. Now, just quickly back with Mr. Pie Man. It looks
that.
like his phone's gone flat. So it's
Okay.
not an issue on our side. So that's a win for me.
Okay.
I pressed the right button.
It's normally you who makes these things happen.
Let's
okay?
be honest. I'm amazing with technology that's not computer games.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Note the
So
fact
basically,
that-
if we bought you a PS, what are we up to now? 5?
No, PC. Come on.
Okay,
Real
PC,
computers,
jeez,
not those
okay.
imitation computers.
Right, okay.
Oh, I can just hear all the console gamers going, no, it is a real computer. I'm a real boy. Can it be considered abuse of power underneath the criminal code?
Yes.
So, Alan Joyce, are you going to get investigated by, let's see, would that be state police or federal police? Because
Federal.
It's, every state that is causing it.
It's federal. Full stop.
Would let's see, federal, that would be, not Quigley, the other Attorney General.
Oh,
What's his
Porter.
name? Christian Porter. Good WA man. Note the sarcasm again. Do you think Christian Porter has the fortitude below his belts to actually pursue something like this
Well, we know that he's keen to use what he's got below his belt.
with his secretary?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, not necessarily his wife, just, anybody who's walking by and slows down. But I don't think he's actually got any other intestinal fortitude apart from, I think that...
ASIC, Australian Securities Investigation Commission or whatever it is. I
Yeah.
forget. That just came through. Someone sent it through on the text line. So 0418 897 897. The other one is Qantas has done this before. Not quite to this extent. So when I say they've done this before, I'm talking about social engineering. So
Hit me.
no, because I'll hurt you. No. Anyway, so who here remembers Israel Folau? And
Oh!
his infamous.
Yeah, that one.
Was it a tweet or a Facebook post?
I think it was a Facebook post.
Homosexuals.
Could we get the list
pedophi-
up? Is that possible? Dwayne, could you bring it up on the screen, mate, just so that we can actually see what the list of
There
the
was-
deplorables
there
was?
was a number. There was
There's-
idolaters.
Murderers, rapists, homosexuals, pedophiles, and something else. Unless they repent their sins, they're going to hell.
Fornicators as well. There was adulterers.
Wow.
There's people that didn't return their VHS tapes rewound. There was a lot of things.
That's
You know
almost
they've got a
everyone.
machine for that. Like they press it in like 2 seconds, and it's done. All right.
The
so-
point is, most
there
of
we
us
go.
are
here we
half
go.
that list.
We got it here. We got it here.
Okay.
Elaine, you've got a better reading voice than mine.
Okay, so it said, hell awaits drunks, homosexuals, adulterers, liars, fornicators, thieves, atheists, and idolaters.
Idolaters.
That's
I'm not sure what an
pretty-
idolater is. Can you tell
No,
me?
what
is
I mean,
that?
I think I've got them on the side of my car. I don't know.
It makes an idol of something that isn't actually a deity or god. So it's
Oh.
No,
raising
it's-
someone
it's-
else to an elevated status.
Good work, Kai.
Close.
Good work.
Okay, you got to remember Israel Folau is a Christian,
Yep.
not a Catholic, so that gets a little bit different. So
Mhm.
under the Christian one, there is only one God, and everything else is an idol.
Yep.
So pretty much what he's saying is, if you're a Buddhist or a Muslim or someone who worships someone other than Christ,
Yep.
that's idolization, and therefore you're going to hell.
Okay. So I'm a couple of things on that list, right? Okay. Do I? So and here's the thing: I don't take that from old Israel and say to myself, "He must hate me." I'm a horrible human being, right? That's his belief, right? And under religion, I'm no religious person. I'm completely agnostic. But okay, that's his religion, and he has a right to feel that way. And Qantas came in with, I don't know, the big.
They-
Actually, the
Reckon-
Wallabies came in.
Yes, very good
Before
point.
the Wallabies, and I forget her name. It was her last name's Castle, the
Mm-hmm.
chief of the Australian Rugby League.
Yep.
She looks like a goth, like black lipstick, white
Yeah,
hair,
yep,
straight
yeah.
black hair. So she got a massive amount of pressure, and Qantas actually threatened to pull all their sponsorship
That's right.
from the NRL. So the thing is, they're having a crack out Israel Folau for this, but yet everyone's favourite Muslim in Australia at the moment, Anthony Mundine, actually legitimately said all homosexuals must die.
Wow.
What
Okay.
is the matter with
Yeah,
this?
but
Nothing happened.
you've got Clementine Ford saying all men should die, right? Must die, right? Like, kill all men.
Yeah,
And everyone's
so-
like, yeah, that's cool. No, you know what we'll do? We'll give her an arts grant for that.
What's
Right.
worse
What
is
the
these are calls to
heck?
action. So this is just going back, putting
Call
my
to
political
action,
hat
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Anything that has a call to action is considered hate speech.
Yep.
And I've actually reported Clementine Ford for that post that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter turned around and said it is not hate speech because it didn't say anyone's name.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
so-
I'm a man, and I find that hateful. I think that I've got
Yeah.
a right to exist and
But
not be
your
murdered.
name,
It's
your
very
name is
hateful.
not man.
Well, a lot. I do say he man a lot, so perhaps. There's the double standard, okay? It comes down to, do you fit into one of the protected groups, whether that be the wealthy, the powerful, particular socio-economic groups, we'll call them, particular religious groups. If you fit into the untouchables, well, things are very different for you.
That's so true.
Yeah.
One rule for one and one for the other.
Just love hypocrisy, right? It's just
Yeah,
fantastic stuff.
absolutely.
Now, go on, mate.
Oh, while the Folau matter was playing out, Alan went on to be interviewed on TV within days of that.
Yep.
And he absolutely sat on the fence. I remember the interview. He said it wasn't his place to make a comment on that. He missed his chance to say that he was bigger than that. Folau can say what he wants.
Yep.
It's not going to affect his funding. He can guarantee that. And he basically let down his community by not showing the strength he could have shown then. He totally copped out at that point and let it happen, whereby the Wallabies, in fear of their funding, got rid of Folau.
Yeah, absolutely. It was disgusting. As I say, I don't agree with Folau's thoughts, right? But I totally agree with his right to have them. Simple as that. And you can't take away a man's livelihood, and also remember it affected his wife as well, because his wife effectively got cancelled for supporting him. Okay, remember that.
She's a netball player, wasn't she?
Exactly right. Yeah, professional sportswoman herself. So she was effectively cancelled because she stood by her husband. I mean, what kind of world have we got when you can't stand by your spouse? That's your fundamental thing in life. You should stand by those you love, right? Your husband, your wife, your children. That's what you do. And big business is saying, no, not on our watch. We'd rather have control of you.
Yeah.
Okay,
no.
so I do need to jump in here because it is 1 minute past the time for our sponsors.
Okie doke.
So we do need to have a message. Whilst we're listening to some awesome music and getting a message, here's a thought for you. Anti-discrimination. Why was not Qantas hit up for anti-discrimination? So we will be back very shortly on Carter's Corner with Aaron Malloy, Travis Carter, Kai, and Elaine. Alan, you need to resign, mate.
Yeah, time to go. Bye-bye.
Oh, I tell you what, that makes me giggle. I couldn't help myself.
We can take it even further. So we've got those beavers going, Alan, and then we cut into Trump going, you're fired.
Give me time. I'll go put that together
or
right
Cartman
now.
going, you're fired.
Very high-tech method there. I literally just play that straight from my phone into the mic. But
and it showed.
it did. That was
the
quality
quality
broadcasting right there. Hello.
Hey, it was very appropriate.
Did the job.
I still think it's hilarious. So, but anyway, we were talking about good old Mr. Alan Joyce, his decision. Oh, by the way, you're on Carter's Corner with Travis Carter, Aaron Malloy, Kai, and Elaine, and our director, hairless. I don't know, mental blank.
What's
Dwayne.
his name? Yeah, okay, cool.
Dwayne.
Yeah, I'm wondering about
because you've been playing that Alan thing so much. I was nearly about to call him Alan, and I was like, I'd rather just sound like a fool than insult Dwayne.
Can we
with that.
Can we not offend Dwayne? Okay,
Yeah, no,
he has control
we like
of the
Dwayne.
computer. No,
Leave
Yes.
Dwayne alone.
He can make my life a living
he
hell.
could. He could actually start giving you facts that that Greta wrote. Okay.
Talking of Greta, no. That's a show we're working on. But
We will go there some other time.
Yes. So, but we're working on it. Other media people, you'll have to wait for next week to find out about that one. But something else I'm working on for next week's show. So make sure you tune in next week, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. every Tuesday. Listen live at 897fm.com.au or get your questions in 0418 897 897. So we're talking about Alan Joyce. That was bad. I thought it worked well. So we've been talking about go woke, go broke, is saying everyone needs to be vaccinated, possible treasonous actions. Here's a thought. It doesn't make business sense to make everyone vaccinated to fly because so many people, like Mr. Pieman, will just go, F you.
Yep.
No, I'm not doing it. And then put a lemon meringue in his face.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that potentially Mr. Joyce is getting instructions from other people and could potentially be a part of the swamp, aka what do they call it? The deep state.
The deep state.
Dun, dun, dun.
I personally don't think so. I just think that he's a completely out of control narcissist. and that just loves to control people. That's my thing.
Aaron, this is a conspiracy corner. We
Well-
need
Sorry.
conspiracies.
Sorry.
Tinfoil hats and bunkers like full of prepping stuff
Aaron.
and stuff.
Yes. Oh, look,
So,
I haven't had a tinfoil hat for
actually,
years since I was
you
getting
haven't needed
when I was
one.
getting what do they call those things? Streaks. Yeah.
Hey, he could be wearing an ankle monitor as we speak.
Or he could have been vaccinated and he's got the implant in his
Oh,
arm.
yeah. One of those
Yes.
microchips.
He could be T3. Who knows?
What?
Terminator. Like, it's okay. It's a very, very
What?
nerdy comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you registered for Skynet as well?
I am actually.
Whoa,
It's funny, Kai's giggling in
okay.
the background there. He knows what's going on.
All right. Enough.
So, no. So, Elaine, do you think he's part of Deep State?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so
I actually
Aaron says
do.
no.
Yep.
So, come on, guys. Debate it out.
So, yeah,
Share
no,
your-
he's going to go down big time. Big time.
Oh, look, I'm sure he has many
What's
times
up?
in his life.
Oh, no, sorry, not that
think
kind of going down. Sorry,
Okay,
Aaron.
okay,
Get
okay.
your
No, none of the...
mind
what's
above
going
your
on?
Okay.
above your belt, right?
Right.
Well,
You guys
it
are
depends.
filthy.
5 inches to 7 inches.
Do you see what I have to put up with here? For goodness sake, it just gets filthier.
Now, here's the thing. This is supposed to be an intelligent, bloody, educated political debate, okay? And now we're talking about wings and wangs and,
Dings
Hey.
and dongs.
yeah.
Wasn't me.
Don't they say that the most sarcastic people are also the most intelligent?
Yeah, they haven't seen this room clearly.
Hey, I wear glasses.
All right, okay.
Oh, we've just had a message come through. How deep is the deep state? 6 inches or 7 inches?
Yeah,
Oh.
no. Yeah, I'm not going there.
Keep it clean, please, listeners.
I'm not
Oh.
going there.
I want to
Isn't that a bit
see.
hypocritical.
I want to see how the votes have been going on though.
Surprisingly, I know we've had problems in the past with our text message line, so we haven't had many votes. I'm a little bit sad
But we're
about
getting
that.
we're getting them through the other messenger, just not that one. Okay. fair
No,
enough,
but
right.
we've got it on one computer, not the other one. But it's about 100% no to flying with Qantas.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
good work. Good work, guys.
And that's without Dominion.
Right.
What is it called, the voting system in America? Kai, you made
Corrupt.
reference to it before.
Oh, Dominion was one of the accounting
Yeah.
software systems used in and quite a lot of the counties and
I wonder
states.
I wonder if Perth now uses that because our producer tried to vote on their poll and it wouldn't even let him vote. So I'm not sure if the poll's over, it's closed. You have to be a registered buyer of Perth now.
Yeah, I'm going to throw something in on that one. Actually, I had good old White Ribbon. Love White Ribbon. Okay, the most corrupt organisation.
I'm glad you finished that sentence off.
Hello. Just an organisation that effectively steals money so that they can fill their own pockets and pretend that they're looking after people.
Declared bankrupt and then came back about 3 months later.
Exactly right. Well, no, they didn't come back. What happened is the company came along and bought the debt and the name, right? And lost the debt, right? Simple as that. And they owned the
like
name
they
and
just-
turned it into a business.
Right,
But-
it fell out of their pocket or something.
Just a different group altogether who went, "Do you know what? There's a lot of money to be made out of a fake domestic violence industry, right?" So that's what they did. But anyway, what I want to tell you is that they actually had an online quiz, right? And I went and did the online quiz. And guess what? You couldn't give the answers that they didn't want you to give. It simply
Wow.
wouldn't allow you to click those boxes. And what I did is, as an experiment, I went through and I screenshotted as I did it all the way through. And my result at the end was completely different to what I put through.
Whoa, corrupt much.
Are they still listed as a non-for-profit?
Not for profit, mate, worth millions of dollars.
Yeah.
God.
Absolutely 100% corrupt
So,
organisation.
if the listeners are wondering why I've got such a sound of dismay, I've got a set of units that kept getting trashed by our tenants. So we've put them up for emergency accommodation for men because there's absolutely nothing in Geraldton for domestic violence, emergency accommodation, nothing for men at
Because
all.
of the fact that there's 40% of domestic violence victims in Australia are male.
Yes, correct. But the thing is, like, even up there, of all the homeless people, I think there's heaps, and this is very ballpark figure. Excuse me. Every time you walk down the foreshore, you will see 10 or 15 people, like guys with shopping trolleys, all the stuff in the shopping trolleys. It looks like they haven't had a shower for 6 months, sort of thing. You never see the women. Now, there's an argument saying that all the women are like sleeping in cars and whatnot, and you won't actually see them because it's a safety issue. But I know for a fact the religious groups up there, they have all these shelters for women.
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing for men.
Yep.
So I hit up the government for a grant to do the repairs and set these 6 bedrooms up for emergency accommodation, which
Yep.
would solve probably about 20% of the homeless problem for men up in Geraldton.
Cool.
No, because it wasn't for women.
Yep.
So if I
Wow,
set it up
that's
for women,
sexist.
that'd give me up to $300,000. But because it
right.
was for men, I got
Not a
absolute
cracker.
jack shit. Sorry, I just realised we're past the swear thing. So,
How
and then to
disgraceful.
have
No, but it's okay because right now, okay, and here's the problem. If I make these comments, I'm branded a misogynist, right? I believe in equality, so I have an absolutely massive problem when this kind of thing goes on. When money is given to give one gender an advantage over the other, whether they be grants, as long as you put a certain amount of women onto your board, I find that disgraceful. People should be on boards on merit, not on on their
there's
gender.
a word for it. It's called discrimination.
It is discrimination.
Yeah.
When right now in New South Wales, you've got a $5,000 payout if you're affected by COVID. You're eligible for a $5,000 grant if you're a woman. If your employment, if your income was affected. Now, not if you. It specifically says that you have to be female to get the grant.
How does
I
this
think that's
happen?
disgusting. Now, why don't we chuck it to the lady in the room?
Absolutely.
Elaine, as a woman, and I know obviously this is your opinion, not everyone else's, and you don't speak for the better half, as they say. How do you feel about this blatant discrimination against people? And it goes further than that, because the Australian government has a Minister for Women's Affairs, and you read the description, it's purely for women.
That's right.
There's nothing for men.
That's right.
You have the minister, and I hate labelling people with a passion. Like, I don't care where you're from, who you are, what you do, what your religion is, anything like that. We need to stop labelling people.
We do.
We have a Minister for Aboriginal Affairs. We have Minister for Women. We've got all these things that single out these groups, which is flat out discrimination. Of
course it is.
So they need to be scrapped. For example, it should be something along the lines of Ministry for Underprivileged People, because just because an Aboriginal person is, their parents hit them, they were single on the street, and they've got 4 kids, doesn't mean that you don't have a Chinese family like that. You don't have an Indian family. Like, we've got
And
so
that
many
doesn't
different
represent
cultures in
every
Australia.
Aboriginal person. I mean, let's face it. I mean, I've got Aboriginal friends who just, they're just my friends. Like, I just don't care. And why would you care? It makes no sense. So, no, we should be treated with equality, right? That
Okay.
is the bottom line.
So getting back to the original question, Elaine, and there's 3 guys here and Elaine, so as the minority in the studio today, how does it feel knowing that they're openly discriminating against people? How does it feel for you?
I feel absolutely disgusted by it and appalled, because it just shouldn't be happening.
No.
And why should we say that? Let's just talk about maybe domestic violence, for instance.
Yep.
Why should we just say that it's women being on the bad end of that? Okay. How come there's not men? There must be men as well.
Well, no, the figures are, okay, currently it sits at 59 to 41% is the split between male and female victims of domestic violence. So there are more women at 59%,
Yeah.
but 41 is still a massive part of
So-
the society.
So why aren't they helping the males?
Because there's no votes in it.
That's disgusting.
There's just no votes in it.
You know
there
what's-
is in Australia one only domestic violence shelter for men. And
It's in Queensland.
No, actually, it's in New South Wales.
Yeah, I thought it was Queensland.
No, that there was a new
Townsville.
one. There was a new one being started up in Queensland, but I don't know if it's actually happening yet. But the one, so if we've got up to 2, woohoo, we're doubling our
Okay,
numbers.
so what I heard, the one in New South Wales got closed, and they opened one in Queensland because it was cheaper.
Oh, then perhaps I'm wrong. But
I could be wrong. I haven't seen it
but
for a
here,
while, so.
here's the big bombshell as far as I'm concerned now. So one in the entire country, right? So that is run by, who do you think runs the only male domestic violence shelter in Australia?
Men's Shed.
Nope.
Would that be the family court by any chance?
No.
No, not the family court. Not that corrupt.
Just to throw out just how screwed the messaging is that the media sends out. The only people who are looking after male victims of domestic violence in the whole country is the Islamic Women's Association of New South Wales.
Wow, how's that?
Yep.
That's actually pretty awesome.
That
It's
is
incredibly
great.
awesome. Yeah.
What great people, But
So it's. I mean, I previously been a victim of domestic violence. Right. I had to try to go to a shelter and try to get some help. Couldn't get any help at all. And I actually, speaking to a shelter, they said to me, if you pretend to be a perpetrator, you can stay here, but you have to pretend to be a perpetrator.
that's absolutely foul.
I'm not kidding you.
For the people who can't see my face, because obviously this is radio, it's got the WTF look on it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So I had to sleep in my car for days.
And so where's our
6 weeks for
government?
me.
Where's our corrupt government in all of this?
No, there's no money in it. There is no money in. Okay, there's so many focus groups. There's so many lobbyists, right, that are pushing this narrative that's completely false. And the problem is, you have this conversation, right? I will walk out of here and I will be attacked. I will get messages, nasty messages. This is what will happen, saying that I am a misogynist because I'm making these points.
Wow.
The fact of the matter is, okay, look, Elaine, you and I have spent a bit of time together over the last few weeks. You know, I mean, I have a very high opinion of you, simple as that. Is that based on your gender? No, right? That's based on, getting to know somebody, their intellect, their what they bring to the party. I'm not a person who does play the gender game, all right?
Yeah.
I believe in equality.
Me neither.
I
don't
believe in
either.
equality.
Yeah.
So what we've got right now is a situation where, look, you have to, if you want any assistance, it's like Men's Line, which is a government-funded organisation, okay, which is supposed to give counselling and so forth for men for all sorts of problems, right?
Yeah.
Okay. They, in their doctrine, refuse to accept the existence of male victims of domestic violence.
Wow, this needs to change. It really does. It's shocking. I can see now why there is so much male suicide happening. And
76% of suicides are male.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Yeah, and that's I don't want women committing suicide, obviously, but that's nowhere near the old 50-50, is it? We also know that right now, currently, in these COVID times, 41 men per week are committing suicide because of parental alienation, being kept from their families, being kept from their children.
And using COVID as an excuse to do it.
That's right. They are hiding behind COVID. Mind you, don't get me wrong. I mean, it was pretty bad before. Just before COVID, the figure was actually 28 men per week committing suicide. But now with COVID, they can hide behind it a little bit more and make it even worse.
All right. Now, on that very depressing note,
Sorry,
we do need to go to a message from our sponsors. It has just hit 9 o'clock. I think we have the option to kick on.
what do you want to do, my friend?
We're pulling up some awesome topics. I don't mind kicking on.
Okay.
Let's
Because there's
keep
a few
going.
things that I want to kick off on this domestic violence thing is because have you actually seen the number one cause of domestic violence? And it's not gender, which is actually quite interesting because everyone gets so hung up on the labels of gender that they lose track of the real cause of most domestic violence. So anyway, before we do that, let's go to a message and then we'll be back in a couple of songs. This is Carter's Corner, Travis Carter, Aaron Malloy, Kai and Elaine. Carter's Corner, back again.
I'm going to stop you right there, my friend. I thought we were having a Wham revival there. Right? Okay. How many Wham songs have you got tonight?
How many did the system put in? I must be.
Blame the system. Don't blame the system. You chose those songs.
How
mate.
many
Tell the
times?
truth.
Well, actually, I was dedicating them to our Joyce.
Alan.
In case you don't know, like Wham, George Michael, toilets.
Andrew Ridgely, yes. Yep.
Toilets and all the whole 9 yards, and like, doesn't
Yes,
that make
edge
you
of heaven.
moist? Oh, definitely no.
There's
Actually,
that
I think
word.
it makes you a little bit flaccid, to be honest with you. Anyway, so talking of moist and flaccid and all that other joyous words, we've actually had a link sent to us. Now, we had to show it.
I can't
And
see
what
it.
it is a video of Jacinta Ardent. I think that's how you pronounce her name.
I believe.
Walking
Hardened.
Hardent. well, in this video, she was not hard.
No,
So
she was
She
flaccid.
had some flaccid tackle down below. And you see pictures all the time of Michelle Obama, and there's something there.
Right.
I've got 2 kids. I've seen childbirth. I know the bits that are down there,
Right. I'm glad
and
you
I
know.
don't know how these images, unless she's got something tucked down there, like she's trying to smuggle
Budgies.
maybe 20 kilos of cocaine or something. But no, there's something there. She's packing heat.
It's swinging from side to side.
Flacinda, maybe.
Flacida, a little bit flaccid. So, but if you guys are wondering what it is, there's a website, a Facebook group called the Logic Party. If you just Google New Zealand Prime Minister red dress PP, use the proper word for it. The first video that comes up, she's in a red dress, it swings.
It's there.
Yeah. That thing ain't telling time. Okay, it's swinging back and forward.
So the question is, and it actually came with a question, all the women in the public's eye now do not look like women; they look like men dressed up as women. Is it possible that, like, look at Bill Gates' wife, Michelle Obama, or Michael Obama, Jacinta Ardern?
I'm not going to
here.
agree with. I'm not going to agree with you. I see.
Like-
I see the joke. I do.
No. This is a
But,
genuine question
okay,
here. This
okay.
is because obviously we're in conspiracy corner. Especially with the pride that people are feeling for, and this is a quote, I'm transsexual, and all that sort of stuff. No, I'm not transsexual. I'm a man, born a man, still am a man. I haven't lost everything due to marriage divorces yet.
Good to hear.
Like, if these people, like, let's say Michelle Obama is actually a dude, why not be truthful with it? If Jacinta Ardern isn't a dude and is a girl, like, or whatever she is.
Right. I'm not even American. I'm pleading the fifth on this one. And to tell you right now, I'm going to throw over to Elaine. What's your thoughts there?
Well, I think it's all part of the deep state.
Oh, we're back to the deep
We're
state.
back to the deep state, okay?
Deep state again. So, question, Jacinta Ardern, guy or girl? Oh, we could do this as a poll.
Hello, it's a guy.
It's another poll.
0418
It has a
897 897.
Hang on.
Is the New Zealand Prime Minister male or female?
Hang on. I think what we're debating is that a poll? I mean, that's,
I'm sorry, it is a definite male.
I tell you what, now, I wasn't feeling, I'm a bit lightheaded this evening. Didn't think I could actually make the show and try to get out of it. And I think to myself, we started with, intelligent, educated sort of thoughts about politics.
What?
And we end up with Wang Watch. I love this.
What are you
Great.
saying?
Oh,
Well, it's Conspiracy Corner. Like, and the
Wow.
funny thing is Elaine's segment. So,
What are you saying? We're not intelligent, Aaron? Come on.
no, I'm saying that you would think that we'd been drinking. That's what I'm
Just
saying.
because we're a bit
no,
dirty.
I can definitely confirm we've been drinking water and coffee.
Hey,
yes.
speak to for yourself. I've drunk nothing. This is how I am normally.
Yeah.
Imagine how I'm drunk.
She wakes up like this, apparently.
I know. So,
I
but
do.
it's obviously because of the location where we're in the studio here, we're not allowed to have alcohol
That's
on the
right.
premise. So I've just had coffee. I'm allergic to water, so I just drink coffee. And I can tell you for a fact, I think there was a couple of cups of Solo, or was it Solo or lemon squash or whatever.
Yeah, same stuff.
Anyway, so no, we are totally sober, and that's for
Yeah,
the legal.
so there is no excuse whatsoever for what the last hour or so of the show's become, but that's okay.
No, it's okay. It's Conspiracy Corner. This is where
That's
we
right.
get a little bit flaccid, and a little bit
Absolutely.
loose, and a little bit, how's your mum?
That's
Hey.
right.
So anyway,
Well, we can have a lot of polls.
I'm so going to leave that alone. So anyway, just going back to Conspiracy Corner, because it is now 16 minutes over what we were meant to go.
Do it.
All right, Elaine, final comments before we wrap up for today.
Okay, hey,
More text
we've got a really good question here. Firstly, how many inches deep state? That's really interesting.
That is deep.
And then we've got another one. Why does the deep state have women who look like men? That's a really good
It
question.
is a good question.
Can anyone answer that?
Because they're afraid to admit that they're men.
Yeah, because
Oh,
I think they like men.
No, I've got an idea. They know that in society, like, men get discriminated against, so let's just be women.
Oh, okay, there's
Oh,
an
yeah,
idea.
but I
Yeah.
tried that and I got persecuted for it, so I don't know. I don't think that works.
Yeah, but you still had a beard when you dressed as a woman.
Let's ask Kai. Come on, Kai. What's the answer?
For what? I vagued out a little bit there.
Where have you been?
He's had the tinfoil on his head. It's
Oh,
gone over the ears.
come on, Kai.
Come on.
Or is the deep state an evil sex cult?
The S word.
What do you
it's
think?
Okay, we're after 8. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's okay. The kids are in bed.
I don't know. My mind walked out the door a few minutes ago. It was.
Oh, you're just so shocked.
I think
I'll
we
get
might
back
have.
to you on that. We've got our fingers in a lot of pies here.
Okay, that's
What,
a
lemon
perfectly
meringue pies?
It's a perfectly innocent comment. Like, that was clean, and Elaine just took it way.
I've actually discovered
course.
that
Why
Elaine is the
wouldn't I?
bad influence here. I think that we are, very nice, quiet gentlemen.
Oh, whatever.
And you're just dragging us along
you're
this
just-
terrible path.
You're just blaming. Oh, I hope Mr. Darby isn't listening.
So,
Hey,
for
well-
the people who don't know, Mr. Darby was a guest on the show. A very nice elderly gentleman, amazing poet, very
Absolutely.
knowledgeable man, and probably disgusted by some of the things.
And
we're
I
discussing.
think he thinks I'm sweet and angelic. That's not
right.
now.
No,
No,
that's gone.
Not now.
So it is 2 minutes to. It is time for some sponsors, and I think we need to wrap this up for tonight because we have gone 20 minutes over. Yeah, not sorry. So for the final bit, I have to dedicate the next song to the butt of all jokes for tonight.
Should we play the song before we go to the sponsors?
No, I'm planning to.
Cool.
There's a little old song by Joe Jackson, and it's called Real Men. So this has been Carter's Corner. I'm Travis Carter, your host for tonight. We've had Elaine. We don't have to come up with a nickname for Elaine. So anyway, Kai, thank you for coming in, even though you're half asleep. And Aaron Malloy, again, still half asleep. But thank you very much for coming into the show. If you guys do have any questions, you can always flick them through to us on the text line 0418 897 897. If there's any topics you want us to discuss for next week's show or future shows, please send me an email at info for people who can't spell, at traviscarter.com.au, and you can listen live at 897fm.com.au, or if you look me up on YouTube, Travis Carter, you can actually watch the show tomorrow. Well, listen to the show because you can't watch radio.
Well, you can, but it's not very exciting to watch it. Box in the corner, but
just the thumbnail.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it will be up on the good old YouTube if you want to have a watch.
Nice.
And it's been good. So yeah, make sure you jump on, subscribe, hit that like button, and do all the other social media stuff that you actually got to do.
All right. And something I'm going to, before you go, just funny enough, some of the subjects we've been talking about, I actually got a friend request from somebody that's directly kind of related to this during the show. So it's really nice people are listening. It's really nice that they're coming forward and putting their messages through on 0418 897 897 and sending them through the other little path as well. Thank you so much for being involved, and I will hand it back to the man with the controls, Travis Carter.
Hang on, we've got more messages coming through.
Hang on. I thought we were leaving.
Oh, no. It's about the petition to make...
Get rid of Joyce.
I nearly said Barnaby Joyce again.
Yeah.
Alan Joyce to make him resign.
Yes,
So
Barnaby.
on the comments in the YouTube when this goes up, I will put a link to that gentleman's petition to get Alan Joyce resigning. So anyway, so this is Carter's Corner signing out. It's been absolutely hilarious and a lot of fun. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you next week on Tuesday.
See you, man.
See
you
ya.
later.